Topical and atypical.
Unfiltered and independent. 100% authentic and intelligent.
I'm excited.
Yeah, welcome to our store.
Thank you, boo boy. I love you.
I am someone who loves their neighbor.
Good morning, everybody. Nope. Good morning, everybody. All right. Welcome to Views from AmandaLand, your news and truths by any joke necessary. Thank you for waking up on the right side of history. Yes, we are back home, as you can see. Isn't this nice? We are back home in our place. Notice this says October, so I'm going to change that to December. My gosh, look at this little bubba. I think am I live on Instagram right now? I tried to do like the simulcast. And I don't think I did it correctly. But I tried to do it. Because I think it's actually quite interesting that you can do it. Okay, so how to stream. Select go live once you're streaming. So, okay, well, I did that. Okay, this is the stream key. Let's see if I can get it right. Let's see. Let's just see. Let's just see, y'all. Let's just see. Okay. It says you are live. It says I'm live on Instagram. Am I live on Instagram? Can anyone confirm or deny this? I'm not live on Instagram, right? Okay. I was like, no, I'm not. Okay. Remove. But now I'm going to add it back. All right. Save. And then I go over to Instagram. Just you see how hard I'm working right now? Because I'm really trying to one of the things that I really want to do in 2025 is really step up views for AmandaLand. 2026 is really step up views for AmandaLand. And that's only going to happen if it is able to I did connect the streaming software. Oh, it's live now. All right, I did it. I did it, y'all. So shout out to everybody. Good morning. Thank you to everybody who was out there in the world with us for the views from, for the What would the ancestors say? Mission driven tour. We are starting a little late this morning, so let's just dive right in and find out who's here. Hey, 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 let's get it, let's dooby dooby doo doo doo. Come on. If you're on Instagram, come on over to YouTube. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. It's time to get it cracking. We back at the house. Let's talk about it. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. Notre Dame, Brooklyn, Puerto Rico via Miami, Harlem in the building, Charleston, South Carolina, San Diego, Aurora, Colorado, Las Vegas, Nevada, Rolando, Brandon's in Houston. We got Denmark, Copenhagen, Bay Area, Lima, Peru presente. Live from the Bay. Rachel's in Durham, North Carolina. We got the DMV representing Boston, Massachusetts, the D in the classroom, Salt Lake City, Utah, Cleveland, Ohio, Spring Hill, Tennessee, National City, California, Kansas. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. Kenya! Spring Hill, Tennessee, Waterford, Michigan. Somebody got their book in Oakland. Yay! University Place, Washington, New Jersey, St. Petersburg, Florida, Lebanese in Berlin, Germany, New Orleans, Buenos Dias from Spring Valley, California, back home in Valley Cottage. I'm waving at you, Sarah. San Diego, Barbados. Cook up some fried and flying fish for me now. South Carolina, Fort Worth, Frances, Patterson, New Jersey, Clackamas, Oregon. That's a new one. Brooklyn, New York, Newark, New Jersey, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Texas, Denver, Buenos Aires. What's new? Buenos Aires. Reese is in London, Hollywood, Florida, the LBC, Denver, Montreal, St. Louis up in here. What's up, Hamid? Sacramento, Wilcomican Territory in Muskoka, Ontario, Canada, Atlanta. Ooh, Zacatecas, Mexico. That's a new one. And Dublin, Ireland. Shout out to everybody joining us international. If you're listening on the podcast, welcome. If you're watching on the replay, we love you. And if you are watching on Instagram, come on over to YouTube and subscribe, because you know Zuckerberg and all of them are against me. So we got to get them everywhere. Okay, we got to literally be in all the places so that we're harder to get. We got a lot to talk about today. We will be talking about, speaking of harder to get, we're going to talk about their now cracking down on anti-fascists. I mean, it's wild how wild it is. But this is happening in California. We also have great guests. We have Ra'Shya Ghee at Highly Vibey on the internets, and she'll be joining us for 60-second headlines, as well as Josephine Guilbeau, who will be joining us for Level Us Up. If you don't know Josephine's work, this will give you a little taste.
My name is Josephine Guilbeau. I'm a 17-year Army veteran. I recently got out of the military last year.
For 1 year, I have watched Israel burn children alive. You don't care about veterans. You don't care about American values. You are destroying this country.
Let me tell y'all something. I constantly accidentally say company instead of country when I refer to the United States. And we all know that is not a Freudian slip. That is a factual slip. All right. So, yes, we got Josephine joining us. Also, we're going to be talking about uprisings. We got uprisings happening all over the world. And again, the United States acts like it doesn't know how to uprise, because I guess it doesn't. But yeah, what are we going to do, y'all? In the words of Drew Hill, what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna go? What are we gonna say when they find out? Yeah, I don't know. Let's get into our word of the day. How about it? let's just get into our word of the day, because we have got our 60-second headlines guests already prepared. Our word of the day is debonair. No, did we do debonair? I feel like we've done debonair. Torpid. 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 It's an adjective that means sluggish and dull. Okay, sluggish and dull. Alrighty, the Nabby said her coffee is still brewing, so that means she might still just be torpid right now until she gets that coffee in her system. Use it in a sentence, y'all. Torpid. Let me tell you, the way that jet lag be hitting me, I be feeling real torpid. Okay, watching people consistently stand for genocide politicians makes them look real torpid. And Wynette said, over in Jersey, it's quite a torpid and gloomy day. It is over here in Nyack as well. DJ Bless said, after getting my wisdom teeth removed yesterday, I'm feeling very torpid right now. I respect it. I know what that's like. Ooh, Florida girl said, perimenopause got me feeling torpid. Ha! I know about it. Brandon said, I'm feeling real torpid this morning because of this Texas weather, but clicked on this live link without hesitation. We love it. You know what looks real torpid? Them pictures of the White House staff in Vanity Fair. They look a mess. They look a mess. Actually, I feel like I want to try and show you this video. Yes, this woman, she actually summed it all up. Like, there's nothing for me to add. So actually, let me just let this lady tell y'all, because I didn't even know that there was such a thing going on. I didn't know that there was a Vanity Fair thing happening. But while I'm pulling this up, want to remind you to go to AmandaSeals.com, get your copy of What Would the Ancestors Say? And also just know that I have a lot of dope stuff coming for Kwanzaa. So I hope that you guys have some bread, or some people that you care about that you just want to give things to. What else do I want to remind you all of? You can gift people a subscription to Patreon for the holidays, by the way. It's $5. It's $5. It's so funny when I see people really being like, Amanda is a grifter, because I'm like, what's the grift? Like, where am I gaining? Like, because a grifter is someone who's conning people in order to get something from them. And I'm just like, what's the con? That's what I be trying to figure out. What's the con? I don't get it, but I want y'all to watch this because we're petty.
Photograph is a masterclass in composition, and if you never took art history, watch this and you will understand how to read any image. First and foremost, everything is a choice. Do not think the photograph was something that accidentally happened. Photographers either choose to literally frame the composition or choose to print the one that worked the best. Often they do both. Next, when you're looking at any image, this is not just a photograph, any image, try to figure out what is the focus. When it's a portrait, it should be the person. However, then you try to figure out if the person is actually the focus. Now, she is almost completely in the center of this image, but slightly off center. That is already like a little bit of a tell. Next, look at all of the line, right? Because your eye follows lines to look at the composition, to move around it. And all the lines are pointing in different directions. It's like arrows pointing at all kinds of things. Most of them not at her, and definitely not at her face. Next, light is a tool, and it's supposed to move your eye into focusing on things. Except for we have a random spotlight and an empty chair. And this, which sort of makes it look like this is the pool of light is on nothing. Emptiness. And then back here, the brightest part is probably this hallway, which then leads your eye away from her to this, with a shadowy person in the shadows. When you put it all together, this composition feels like the focus is not her, but the lack of focus. And it makes you draw the conclusion she is not the center, but there's some sort of force behind it. Now, am I reading too much into it? No, these are all purposeful choices to make us make that reading. And frankly, you could do this with any well-composed image, do the same sort of step. But I would invite you to try to look at one where the person seems powerful and compare it to them. Because you will see that the light will be on their face, they will be in the middle, and all the lines will be pointing to them.
Okay, that wasn't the video I wanted to show you, but I still think it was great because you learned something about composition. Now this is art_lust on the Instagrams. And, so I love when people are actually like using things that are in front of us to teach us about other things, right? Things that actually are interesting to us, because these people are the worst in the world. And so we don't really want to know about them, but we have to know about them because they are the worst in the world. But this is actually the video that I wanted you all to watch because it's actually funny and interesting.
Does this picture prove that Stephen Miller is a vampire? So before we get to that pressing question, one of the things that really struck me about these visual compositions is how awkward they are. Remember, photographs are choices. They're picking what to frame in and what to frame out. This would be a very different image if there was nothing on this side. Also, it would be a very different image if the light switch wasn't there. In this whole spread, light switches and random stuff play major characters in the photographs. What it does is it, one, reminds us how big these people are, right? It gives us scale because all of us sit in chairs. Many of us have light switches. I mean, this one is truly a brilliant photograph, partly because of the weight of it. There is a lot of empty space here. That dwarfs Marco Rubio, who himself looks like a dwarf. But then also, it's the fact that there is so much not Marco Rubio in this photograph. It could be cropped to show him more close up. But instead, it's like a giant space with a little Marco Rubio. It's hard to come off as manly State Department man when you are being framed as less consequential than the door. And even this red suit, purportedly the color of power, looks ill-fitting and somehow only adds to the old lady vibe that the rest of this room has. Mm-hmm. And again, it is framed with half a chair. In every instance, there's a little bit of a topsy-turviness to it, which takes me back to this one. I am sorry to report, one, his hand does have a reflection, and two, he does not have the rest of the reflection in the table because it's at an angle. But let's admit it, vampires are meant to be hot. And then there are these people. All in all, I think that the images together show a group of people who are shorter than you thought, but as awkward as you imagined.
The summation, the final summation. They are shorter than you thought, but as awkward as you imagined. Incredible. Y'all, let's get into our 60-second headlines.
60-second headlines. And I run down some news right quick.
Run it down, mama. Put us on.
Hello? Can you hear me? You cannot hear me. You can hear me.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Very loud.
Amazing. Oh, okay. Should I turn it down? Am I good? I'll turn it down a little bit.
It's like, no, we can hear you, sis. Listen, hello, how are you? Welcome.
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here to talk to you about these headlines.
So happy to have you as well. Now, let's give the people some context. Where are you joining us from? How did you become so on point? Because you are one of these people that I just came across on the internet who never misses. You've always landed on the right side of right. And I'm always like, yes, exactly. So can you please tell people a little bit about yourself?
I appreciate that. So I am joining you from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am a law professor. I teach constitutional law at the University of Minnesota. I focus on the First Amendment, speech and press through a critical race theory lens. And that means I spend a lot of time with the ancestors. And as long as you spend time with the ancestors, you're going to end up on the right side of history. If you spend time with them, you heed their lessons, right? You treat them as whole human beings, full of nuance and complexity, you're going to be on the right side. So, I think that's part of
you got Octavia right over your shoulder.
I do. I got Octavia back there. Look, I got Martin up there.
All right.
I got all kind of folks. We keep them all together.
I see you. I see you.
So a lot of what I do is trying to think about the way in which democracy is experienced in a racialized state. And right now we're at an inflection point of that. So I think, I didn't know it before, but I was being prepared for this moment to have something meaningful to say. So I try to use that as best I can.
Here's just a random question I'm throwing out to you because I was thinking about it this morning. When I was on the road this week, someone asked me, well, what is going to be the difference? Because I keep telling people like Israel is about to colonize the United States. And even if they don't say it that way, that's what's actually happening. I don't know if y'all know this, but they were flying the Israel flag on the White House yesterday.
Know that.
Yes. And also I saw a video the other day of somebody, I can't remember who it was, but they were hugging Donald Trump saying he's the first Jewish president. So like, this is a real thing happening.
Either.
And so I told them, I said, well, we're going to experience apartheid, but in a much more outward fashion. Like they're already talking about, we're going to have to start carrying our passports because IDs are not going to be enough. And I said, we are already experiencing a certain level of apartheid, first with white people in this nation in the way the Justice Department deals with them differently, but also in the way that we see Zionists being dealt with differently, right? Because the First Amendment rights that are given to Zionists are not given to people who are pro-Palestinian. Mm-hmm. So have you started to kind of expand at all your lens of looking through the racialized lens to include Zionism yet?
So what I tell people is that the United States has never not been a racialized apartheid. Mm-hmm. It's just typically been confined to the darkest folks and the folks who, and by the darkest folks, I mean Black folks, right? And so what we're seeing, I want people to stop treating what we're seeing as an aberration. The problem is just that we don't know this nation's history, and that's also on purpose. And so we think how Zionism is being treated is somehow an aberration, or the Antifa attacks are an aberration. We have never allowed people who were pro-humanity, who were pro-civil rights, who were pro-human rights to speak freely in this country. Mm-hmm. It is part of the foundational structure. It is part of this country's architecture. There's a great line by W.E.B. Du Bois where he's testifying in front of Congress, and he talks about how the United States creates witch words to stop people from speaking freely. And he says at first the witch word was abolitionist, and then it was socialist and communist. Yeah. And I would argue, and that's the climate, the context in which he's speaking at that moment. But I would argue that now that word is terrorist.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we levy it, of course, at pro-Palestine protesters because we have this architecture in place. We've just now repurposed it for the moment, right? Even all of the things that Project 25, and I know you're going to get to Project 2026 or the revamp of it, are doing are actually a continuation of the history of this kind of architecture. It's just that they fought so hard and been so effective at keeping this history out of school, at keeping it out of the mainstream media, at keeping it inaccessible, that people don't have it to frame what's happening in this moment. So it's not actually like we're moving in a new direction. It's just that what's been confined to the margins and to Black folks and to pro-human folks is now reaching the mainstream, is now migrating to the rest of society. And they're trying to establish it as the paradigm explicitly in a way that it's historically kind of been laundered under the patriotism, under the security banner. They're still trying it. It's just not as effective. And if it's not effective, they'll use brute force. I think that's the difference, if anything, is that we're entering we will brute force everyone. We used to just do it to Black folks and socialists and communists. Now we will make you into the person we need to do it to.
Yeah, but isn't the new part what they're contextualizing it into? I mean, I feel like I never heard of anti-Semitism or I never heard of anti-Semitism as a brute force effort, as a brute force tool until the last 2 years.
I think that's right. I think that's right. I think that certainly this is the latest iteration of it, but I think it's important.
But why? That's what I'm trying to get at. I feel like people are really not riding with me on this, and I'm right. And I need y'all to understand this. Because the people in these positions are Zionists. Like at one point in time, it used to be, oh, everybody's white in these positions. And now it's that everybody is a Zionist in these positions. Like the legal field in the United States is very much run by Zionists, right? Like the actual Supreme Court, I mean, they may not be Jewish, but they're Zionists.
Yeah, I think Zionism right now, the political Zionism that you're talking about, is the nucleus.
That's the only kind of Zionism there is.
Sure. Won't disagree with that.
I mean, in terms of Israel, like it's
right.
It's not. They lie and say it's religious, but
that's what I mean, right? Like if we think about what Israel represents, right, on the global geopolitical stage, it is the culmination of what all of these earlier iterations have represented.
Absolutely.
Right? It is. So there are three things I argue will always provoke the most violent response from the United States, and why you didn't see the kind of violent response at the No Kings protest, right? It is anti-white supremacy, anti-militarism, and anti-capitalism. If you attack any of these three things, and especially if you attack them all, you will provoke the most violent response from the state. Right? On many levels, Israel functions as a proxy for the United States for those efforts, for those pursuits. It is when you talk about building, what do they call it? The Riviera or whatever they're talking about building in the Gaza Strip. When you talk about the defense contracts and the amount of money that's flowing over there, when you talk about the history of colonialism, when you talk about colonization and the eradication of indigenous people, you are speaking to the heart of white supremacy. You are speaking to the heart of the military industrial complex. You are speaking to the heart of capitalism. And so those elements of our society are the foundational building blocks of this country and have always been. And so anytime you are trying to make inroads into reallocating the power that has amassed within that structure, you are going to provoke the most violent response. The Palestine-Israel conflict is the latest front of that in our society, and one that we're all intimately connected to in a way that we haven't seen in those past iterations because of how social media is functioning, because of the way that the internet has allowed us to connect to one another. So you had a lot of the things that we're seeing, deporting people, vilifying people, attacking universities, we saw in the early 1900s and early 20th century with communist and socialist movements. You saw with civil rights activists during the 60s, from the 40s to the 60s. You saw during the antebellum period with abolitionists. It's just that we all weren't watching it unfold on our phones, and we didn't have those real on-the-ground accounts to compare it to the propagandized media machine, political machine that was fast at work, in a way that now we kind of have this to mitigate, which I think is making us more engaged, which is why this one feels so visceral. This one feels so poignant, because we're experiencing it in a way that we haven't experienced these earlier iterations. But this is the United Statesing.
It is. I think that we are short-sighted in thinking that this is about the United States. And I'm just going to say that. And
I agree.
I think that that's the thing that I'm trying to get us intellectuals to kind of expound upon, is because we're literally seeing Zionists steal property in the United States the same way they're doing in Palestine. I just saw a man who is serving time right now for stealing 20 homes. He stole 20 people's homes in New York, grand larceny. And the judge for his next case said, you know what, we're going to give you time served. And so for these new 20 homes that because he already was serving time for something else. So now he's serving time. Now he was on trial for 20 homes that he stole in Brooklyn, to my understanding. And the judge gave him time served, and he's not going to serve a day longer.
But this also mirrors Donald Trump.
He's a Zionist. He's a Jewish Zionist.
This also mirrors, though, Donald Trump pardoning the home healthcare guy who stole the millions of dollars, and then him pardoning the drug trafficker guy from Honduras. Right? And what I'm just trying to say, so I would say two things back to what you said about. I would say one thing in response to this is not about the United States. And one of the ways I think that is really evident. I saw someone on Democracy Now! Summarize this really well. And they were explaining that they were saying that this group of people, the cabal of folks who exist, for example, around Epstein, are not tethered to a nation in the way that they're tethered to each other. They use the globe as their terrain, right? It is not a United States. So I think framing it in terms of, it's not about the United States, and that the United States is not the pinnacle of the pursuit. It's just one more hub that these people use to operate from, right? And it has the kind of military infrastructure that allows them to wield global power, right?
Bingo.
And so I think it's important for us to think about this in terms of, there's no allegiance to the United States surviving, right? I think that is probably the biggest misconception, is that people believe that there's some loyalty or prioritization of the United States making it. There is not.
No.
Right? There is a priority for these people to make it. And to the extent that they can use the United States to advance that, they are inclined to do so. Right? On the flip side, though, the other reason I think you're right about the way Zionism is being used, but I think Zionism is being used not for the purposes of Zionism itself, but because Zionism is so conducive to these other priorities. That's why you get the Honduras president. That's why you get the pardons in these other ways. That's why the things have been listed. This is about some fundamental priorities for these people in charge. And whatever tools they can use to advance that agenda, they will, right? And this
their agenda
happens to be one of the tools.
Right? Like their agenda is to take, like, it sounds very Pinky in the Brain, but their agenda is to take over the world.
We're run by Marvel villains. I mean, it's absolutely Marvel villains who are in charge. 100%.
And so I just find that as I'm watching these things happen, like even the conversations around Jasmine Crockett, people are like, well, why does it matter? Then I see James Tallarico, on an interview today, and it's like, well, I have some really good, bad news for y'all. Both of them are trash. Yeah.
I would go even further. I think our focus on individuals is the problem. This is why I try to insist, right, that this is the architecture. These are the leaders it's going to produce. You want different leaders. You want different leadership. You want a different leadership paradigm. You need a different architecture.
Absolutely.
You don't that's why I keep saying, right, one of the things that happened, I think about 6 weeks ago, is the Trump administration sent out letters to a bunch of universities. Brown was one of them. Vanderbilt was another one. And essentially they asked for these universities to alleviate any commitment to DEI, to significantly scale back the number of international students that they're allowing in, and to alleviate things that make people hostile to conservative ideology, right? And in exchange for doing this, and to agree to a tuition freeze, which most people agree with, but in exchange for doing these things, they will get priority for federal funding, for grants, for research dollars, for student loan dollars.
Everything is quid pro quo. It's unbelievable how corrupt all this is.
It's true. But what this is essentially saying, and what this directly contravenes, is this idea in American society that we have a marketplace of ideas, that every idea gets to compete equally, and whichever idea is best will prevail. What we actually have, and have always had, is a very carefully curated set of ideas that we are allowed to access. And they are ideas that can have no robust competition lest they be eliminated. Right. This is why they don't teach about socialism and communism in schools. This is why the fight over how much racism you can talk about, whose perspective you can talk about it from, this is all because in order for white supremacy, capitalism, and the militarism that we have to survive, it's why King, shout out to you, it's why King said that they were the three evils, because in order for them to survive, you have to alleviate competing ideas. So what this administration is doing is reluctant as people are to engage with this fact, is they're not an aberration or a deviation from our trajectory. They are a continuation of it. When they say they're trying to reclaim traditions, when they say they're trying to bring us back to these American founding ideas, they're consistent. They're not wrong. And a big part of that is inhibiting a free dialogue, is inhibiting the free flow and exchange of ideas, right?
Which actually is a great segue into Project 2026.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
because
yes.
I feel like people thought it was just like 2025 all the way live. And it's like, no. They had more coming for us, y'all. They had more coming for us. And I definitely thought I had transferred it into my computer. So I didn't. So that's a problem. But I'm about to do it right now.
Okay.
So tell me this. When did you find out about Project 2025?
I think around the same time everybody else found out about it. I mean, 2022, 2023, maybe.
That's not when everybody else found out about it.
Oh, well, okay.
I mean, Kamala didn't start talking about Project 2025 till 2024.
Well, let me be clear. I don't think when our politicians decide to address something publicly is a good metric for when it actually became publicly known, right? Again, these are people who are ambassadors for a system that thrives on deception, right?
But there are many people who did not hear about it until they heard about it from her because they look at them as the source.
Yeah, we got to stop that. We got to stop that.
Yeah. So here we are, y'all. Heritage Foundation said, don't sleep. We got more for you. And they have released new fascistic policy. Thank you to So Informed for putting this together. Some points of note in their blueprint for 2026 are the American family, the dignity of work, and the future of free enterprise, which you were just speaking about. National security, which we need to always put in quotes, because we need to put the security in quotes within the quotes, because it's not actually securing the nation. It's the same ethos as Israel, where it's we're going to cause friction with everybody else and call it securing ourselves, when really what we're doing is creating a reason to make weapons. And the American heritage and citizenship. They want to eliminate ranked choice voting altogether. Do you know about ranked choice voting?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people are supporting it as a way to mitigate the kind of corruption that we're seeing run rampant in our political parties.
So ranked choice voting, y'all, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm still sometimes a little shaky on this. Ranked choice voting, to my understanding, is when basically they put a number of folks that are up for election, and you can vote by ranking. So you don't just choose one, you can rank who you want in preference. And then that is narrowed down by how many people ranked a certain person by one, how many people ranked a certain person by two. So that is why when Mamdani was in the primary, everyone was like, rank him as one, because that would push him through. That allows for there to also be more opportunities for different kinds of candidates versus you only getting these two options and maybe a possible third if there is a Green Party or independent option that actually has elevated itself in that district or state. Is that correct? People are saying that's correct. So, okay. They want to roll back environmental and energy regulations. This is the part that I know that it's about money. I know. But I'm just like, do these people know something I don't know
about? Cloning. You went back to Pinky in the Brain, huh?
Like living forever. You know,
yeah. So I will say two things about that. One, I think it's important for folks to keep in mind that for capitalism, everything is a resource. The planet and the people are resources.
We're going to talk about that later for the critical thinking segment, because I don't know if you saw that CNN has partnered with Kashi, which is a betting app, so that you can now bet on actual world events. So we're going to talk about that a little later, because the owner literally says in an interview that anything can be made into a commodity. But please keep going.
A fundamental part of the US. And also, though, one of the things that the wealthy kind of oligarch that we talk about, I saw someone call them the horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yes.
Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, Elon Musk.
Well, they're on the cover of Time, you know, these AI folks too. It's just, and they're praising them.
They have dumped a lot of money into eugenics. They've dumped a lot of money into living forever. They've dumped a lot of money into immortality, into stopping aging, into reversing aging. You know, you've heard these people talk about merging their consciousness with robots and so forth and so on. So there certainly is a push. You know, I think that there's an acknowledgement that the resources are finite, and that means that people can't survive in our current modality into perpetuity. And so on some level, these people have accepted that and are attempting to accelerate it and prepare themselves for it with bunkers, with technology that allows them to extend their life, with all kinds of, so there absolutely is, and they still look tore up. Listen, imagine being such, I'm just gonna say this one thing about that Vanity Fair photograph. Imagine being such a self-loathing white supremacist that you lust after Black woman lips, because if y'all don't see them needle injection marks,
it is wild. It is wild.
So anyway,
it looks nuts.
It's such a, you know, I had a student from Norway come talk to me, and it was just such a refreshing reminder of how untethered this place is from reality, that there's no factual basis for the United States, that it thrives on its hostility and its antagonistic relationship with reality. That is it. So all of these things, the way that it you know, the way it's trying to convince us that blowing up babies is self-defense, the hostility to talking about the reality of this country's racial history, the, you know, unwillingness to deal with the failings of capitalism, are all emblematic of our hostile relationship with reality. We refuse to engage reality, and we punish people who try to force us to do it. That is kind of the ethos, and that's part of why we're in decline. Because when you at odds with reality, reality gonna win every time.
Facts. They want to reclaim institutions, this is what you were just talking about, of higher education from the radical left. By the way, you all, none of these institutions are the radical left.
No.
Anybody who has been in an institution, you currently work in an institution,
you know
that it is far from the radical left. The idea that learning, literally just learning, is considered radical. Learning about anything outside of the United States, learning about anything beyond the context of capitalism, beyond the context of white supremacy, is considered radical.
There is a war on reality. It never occurs to these people that whatever left-leaning bias they think exists in these institutions, and I would agree with you, they're the furthest thing from radical, in my experience, that we can get. But any left-leaning bias, they don't contend with the fact that maybe these are just the facts. Maybe you got a bunch of smart people together. They all looked at the history and the data, and they were like, well, damn, there's only one. They refuse to engage with, and that's why they have to send these letters out to say, you please eliminate these things from your curriculum, because our ideas cannot compete with them. The reality is so clear, it's so anchored in the truth that we can't compete unless they're eradicated.
It's the same way these people like Hillary Clinton and Sarah Hurwitz are like, you guys need to stop showing videos of reality because it's getting in the way of our indoctrination and lies.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
Cut it out, you guys.
That's right. That's right. And it shows how dependent we've been as a society, or the power structure has been on propaganda. Right. That's
1
how it
billion
exists.
%.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like growing up, I mean, I know the word propaganda, but only recently was I able to really point out just how pervasive it is and completely regular. Yeah. So let's run through these other ones real quick. We got advancing policies at the state and federal level to restore the nuclear family to the center of American life. So I was reading something the other day that was really just basically saying that the nuclear family is actually problematic to human life, because this idea that you would only have you in a house with you alone is just so they can control you more. And I had never really thought of it that way.
Absolutely. The nuclear family is an institution to police women and queer folks. And it is to make sure that capitalism, it's a survival mechanism for capitalism because it requires you to be tired all the time. You got to think, if you have people, families and familial models should depend on the village model. We need people in our community who don't have kids. As somebody with kids, I need my kidless aunties to be like, look, I'm gonna come take them for the afternoon, for Saturday afternoon, so you can have a moment to yourself. That allows me to recharge and restore and do some critical thinking and do some reflection. There's no, and if they don't want you thinking in the universities, if they're going to take it out of the universities, they don't want you to have time on your own to do that study neither. And if you are in a nuclear family where you are working even when you are at home, where home is a job, right, to sustain the household, where it's a miniature society like they want to play, then you don't have that time. That's by design.
And, you know, you have Adrian here saying you become dependent on the government and not in a good way. And by the way, they force you to be dependent on the government and then shame you for being dependent on the government. It's just a cycle of nonsense. The last one is reducing both the demand and supply for abortion at all stages of human development. The demand? Everything you listed before this increases the reality that folks will not feel safe having a baby. They won't feel supported. They won't feel healthy, all the above.
Don't they sound like slave owners? Ain't that what a slave owner would say? They want you. I mean, this is
what a slave owner would say. Damn.
This is a reenactment, and this is what I keep trying to get people to understand. Like,
you gonna say what I'm saying? Say it.
The plantation and the slave. This is part of the societal architecture. It's never gone away. This is just a revival of how our society depends.
Make America great again.
Yeah, absolutely nostalgia for the past, and if you look back at the trajectory of the institution of slavery, even after slavery, they were nostalgic for it. You had slave in a box. You had things being marketed as and for convenience as
slave in a box is nuts.
It is. It's true. It is. If you've never looked it up, you should Google it.
A slave in a box.
You should definitely Google it. But yeah, so even our obsession with AI and like robots, it's like you can have a slave, but it'll be a robot, so it'll be okay. And we have never reckoned with the material implications, how slavery shaped our expectations, our identity, what we believe luxury and success looks like, our quest for leisure, etc. So this is, I mean, the social fabric and social mores changed to some extent, but if you recognize that the ultra wealthy are in a lot of ways removed from that social fabric, right? If you think about, I mean, and we encounter it on a regular basis. Think about when Jay-Z says, I don't land at the airport. I call it the Clareport. Right? He's saying, I'm somewhere you can't get to. Right? I'm removed. I'm far away. I'm somewhere you can't. You can't. Exactly. That's the point. That's the point. So the people who, and Jay-Z just a little billionaire. If you compare him to Larry Ellison, 275,
that was so
no
shade. You just a baby Billy. You just a baby Billy. Calm down.
If you compare him to somebody like Larry Ellison or Elon Musk, these people are several layers removed from society.
And there's several generations.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So whatever our social mores and sensibilities are around slavery are not ones they have been socialized within. They exist within a kind of corporate architecture that we've privileged, that's privileged in the Constitution. This is why people not understanding the history of slavery is so detrimental to us collectively. Because if you think about, people think about the 3/5 compromise and the slave trade clause, and they think about it as just a racialized provision. No, these are corporate provisions. These are provisions that say that Congress, which is supposed to be the most representative body because it's the body for the people,
come on,
Congress cannot regulate or cannot stop the importation of slaves. Who is that for? Who's importing slaves? Big business. I'm the only people who can afford the ships, to staff them, to pay to kidnap these folks, to get people to risk their life for the likelihood of mutiny when slaves would revolt on these ships. You're talking about a carve out for big business that's constitutionalized as part of our federal architecture, right? And so we've always privileged corporations and corporate power. And then we connected it to the 3/5 compromise, which said that cargo, That's how we think about people in this country, as cargo. So when they treat us like inputs and labor and humans as a resource, that's part of our foundation. That's part of our architecture, because they called people cargo in the Constitution. And then they said that cargo could translate directly into political power with the 3/5 compromise. The more slaves you bring in, the more representation you have the possibility to get in Congress, right? In the House of Representatives. And so there's a direct link, there's a direct relationship here between the power that we see being wielded and the results and the lack of care about humans. This is part of our ethos. So when they talk about restoring enterprise, when they talk about, they are talking about
even making corporations a person.
Right. When they say, I mean, people think it started with Citizens United. Citizens United is just a modern manifestation of that constitutionalized principle, which says that corporate, huge businesses, corporations wielding political power is part of our ethos. It's good for us. We've always had that, but because we don't study those provisions like that within that context, because we kind of say, oh my goodness, those were slave clauses and they were about, racism, and we don't do that anymore, right? They're inoperable now. We don't need to spend time with them. We don't recognize their implications for our modern.
But they also very casually these days be going back to those laws, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They be pulling up laws from the 18
absolutely.
right?
1798. He's doing it right now. When the Alien and Sedition Acts, he's using some of those acts to deport, which is really just to exile people without due process. But he was relying on the 1798 Alien and Sedition Act. So we absolutely use those laws.
Well, speaking of immigration, I'm going to talk later in the show about uprisings that are happening in Portugal and Bulgaria, but I'm going to do a quick pivot because I did not know that you was from Minnesota.
I'm not. I live here, but I'm not.
That you live in Minnesota.
Yes, I do live in Minnesota.
And so I do want to shout out Minnesota because they have been, and of course I'm saying it just like Bobby's mother would on Bobby's World. Bobby, we're going to Minnesota. And I just want to shout out Minnesota and the work they're doing against ICE.
Yeah, for our Somali neighbors. Absolutely.
Yes.
Hold on.
I don't think there's criminal charges.
Why would I dispose
that is not your business.
Wait. That doesn't make any sense. First of all, if he committed a crime in the state of Minnesota as an adult, that's a public offense. So you all can disclose it. So what is the crime?
They have one person named Juan that they have to detain, and that person is inside Centro Mex. Don Henry has the right to say no to anyone.
So Don Henry is the owner of the market that they are guarding.
His business. So he went inside to talk to his wife, make sure his staff are in the know what's going on out here. They have not produced a warrant. They asked Don Henry if he was a citizen. They asked him to identify himself. Don Henry showed him his passport. They didn't ask me for my passport, but that's okay. It's called discrimination. So we're gonna stay here, guys. We're gonna just stay put. We gotta make sure that Don Henry needs space and time to think about what's best for him, his family, and his business, and we're gonna follow Don Henry's lead.
We made our way to the center of the crowd and found a woman being held face down on the ground. People were screaming to let her go.
We kept yelling, she's pregnant, she's pregnant, she's pregnant. They put their knees in her and we kept telling them, she can't breathe, let her up, let her up.
In the chaos, the woman who was handcuffed was suddenly being dragged by one arm as the angry crowd threw snowballs and screamed at the federal agents.
Do you have a heart? By the way, throwing snowballs at them is probably the most Minnesota thing I've ever heard of. Because one thing about Minnesota is y'all really know about some snow.
We do.
You look like a nice guy. Do you have a heart?
Now, I don't know about you, Ra'Shya, but I couldn't have this. This is why you got to have different folks.
That's right.
This is why you got to have different folks in the organization, y'all, because this couldn't be me talking.
Agreed.
Don't do no shooting around me. I can't breathe. Don't do no shooting around me.
I love you. Let's be family. Let's treat each other good. Let's show the media that we care for one another.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for standing down. Don't bother the people. Love you.
Ciao.
And I'm glad y'all was.
I'll pray for you.
We'll pray for you.
God bless you.
I adopt the Stokely Carmichael perspective. People got to have a conscience for you to reason with them and appeal to their conscience. And I just can't believe if you out here dragging folks out of the car line from schools, you kneeing on pregnant women, you got a conscience for me to speak to, friend. But you know what?
But they left. I mean, but it was a combination
of
all. It was a multi-pronged approach, right?
It was.
Because
Right.
folks was not playing with them. Folks stood up. They linked arms.
They did.
You know, then you had the person who was the communicator.
Yeah.
Like I always tell Claudia de la Cruz, like, don't send me to talk to no cops.
It ain't gonna go well.
It's not. I'm gonna ruin the whole operation. Don't never let me talk to cops. I will ruin the whole operation, Ra'Shya. Everybody gonna get arrested. We all gonna get shot. Don't.
That's not your ministry.
That's not my ministry. No.
Okay.
If you send me to talk to the thugs, right? Send me to talk to the YNs. I'm good with them. But the cops, no. No. Y'all gonna put a bail fund together for me, right? Seal squad.
I mean, we are operating in an extra legal terrain. That's the other thing folks are not reckoning with. People like this.
That's why when everyone says this is thank you. Like, sue.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, we don't know history. If we knew history, we would know how like unreliable. You just, it's like a hit or miss. You might as well, play the lottery. If you feeling that lucky, you should play the lottery. It's just all of this, and this is really, I think, the most powerful point. It is both terrifying and powerful. All of this was created. We created it. We created it.
Yeah.
That means we can uncreate it.
Say it.
Right?
Bring it back. Bring it back.
We can uncreate it. We can make new stuff. And here's the thing. I trust us to make new stuff more than I trust the broligarchs. Certainly more
than us.
I trust the people. I trust humans. I trust us. And this has been proven over and over again. It's why they don't leave us to our own devices.
That's why.
It's why they have to manipulate what we learn and what we see and what we hear and how we speak to one another. And the lines we draw to connect ourselves and separate ourselves. Because this is why they went after TikTok. Because they thought it was just an app where folks was over there dancing. And they found out folks was over there having conversations. And they were like, oh, we have got to shut this shit down. Ooh, let the kids talk.
Yes.
Let them talk.
Then they tricked them and started dancing and teaching. Hey, Zionism's gonna take us down. Hey, Project 25, learn about it.
And then Larry Ellison was like, I'm gonna buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna buy it because we can't have this. And I'll buy whatever other mediums I need to. Right? Like it's an act of desperation. It's an act of desperation. We should absolutely see it as an act of desperation, and it should also terrify us. And I'm hoping I don't know what it's going to take.
Desperate measures, when people get into that phase, they lose any semblance
100%
of humanity that they did possess.
100%. And that's a human thing, right? This is why this is violent crime. The more desperate people are, the more desperate they're willing to be.
Which is also why they are creating scenarios for,
that's right.
When people were talking about Snap, I saw someone say, oh, well, they're just trying to make people feel bad. I'm like, no, they're trying to make those on Snap.
That's right. Same with housing.
Because they're always, of course, trying to feed a free labor force.
That's right.
So tell me this. We were going to talk about a bunch of things, but then we ended up talking about a bunch of things. You are a First Amendment rights specialist. And so we got to talk about what's going on in Cali with this Antifa indictment.
Yeah. Well, did you see Benny Thompson's exchange with the FBI director about Antifa? Did you watch
I'm about to play it for me. I'm about to play it for you right now.
Okay. All right.
Let's start with that.
Yep. That's starting place.
As an Antifa headquarters.
What we're doing right now with the organization.
Where in the United States does.
Wait.
That's somebody grandpa. That's somebody grandpa just asked you, did you eat the cookie? And then you start being like, well, what I said was no. I asked you one question.
Did you eat the cookie?
That's it. Yes or no?
Does Antifa exist? If it's a terrorist organization and you've identified it as number one.
We are building out the infrastructure right now.
So what does that mean? We're trying to get the information. You say Antifa is a terrorist organization. Tell us as a committee, how did you come to that? Where do they exist? How many members do they have in the United States as of right now?
Well, that's very fluid. It's ongoing for us to understand that. The same, no different than Al Qaeda and ISIS.
No, I don't want you. I'll ask one question, sir. I just want you to tell us. If you said Antifa is the number one domestic terrorist organization operating in the United States, I just need to know where they are, how many people. I don't want a name. I don't want anything like that. Just how many people have you identified with the FBI that Antifa is made of?
Well, the investigations are active.
Sir, you wouldn't come to this committee and say something you can't prove. I know. I know you wouldn't do that. But you did.
It would be funny if it wasn't real.
It was such a glaring example of how disconnected we are from reality. And we don't have to be. I mean, that's the scarier part, is that we don't have to be connected to reality. And I would also argue this is true to the FBI's tradition. This is the type of stuff J. Edgar Hoover used to do.
1,000%. It's just that they were able to do it under the shroud of secrecy in a way that they're really not able to do at this level.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
So let me just give you all some background around what's going on. So federal prosecutors in California have indicted 4 people on charges they plotted to bomb multiple targets in California beginning on New Year's Eve. The Justice Department describes the individuals as being part of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, okay? And that they're absolutely pro-Palestine, far-left, anti-government, and anti-capitalist. The 4 people arrested, Audrey Eileen Carroll, Dante Garfield, Zachary Aaron Page, and Tina Lai, have what the Justice Department and FBI have deemed an anti-government ideology. And this was apparently initiated due to the September 2025 executive order signed by President Trump to root out left-wing domestic terror organizations in our country. Now, I just want to add this very important caveat that the indictment relies heavily on a paid FBI informant.
Yeah. This sounds like COINTELPRO. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
This is both, right? Because McCarthyism
yeah.
popped off because of a really zealous senator being like, I'm trying to pop off. Like, he couldn't care less if people were communists, but he was like, oh, I can get a name doing this.
Yeah.
And then you had Hoover, who was like, I'm also trying to get people to not know that I'm gay and black. So let me just get busy too.
Hoover was also raised under, if you will, like his political tutelage. He was originally, so he's hired in the 19 teens. A lot of people don't realize Hoover is hired by the federal government in the 19 teens, and he leads the FBI until 1972. So he has a career spanning more than 50 decades with the federal government. And when he starts out,
multiple wars.
Absolutely. Under Woodrow Wilson, and Woodrow Wilson introduces the Espionage Acts that says you can't say anything bad about the government. He uses muckrakers, which are propagandists, to drum up support for the war. He labels anybody who's anti-war, anybody who's anti-government, anybody who's anti-white supremacy as a threat to the national security. So this is the climate, the rearing, the tutelage under which J. Edgar Hoover is introduced to the federal government. And so if you just look at the lineage, I mean, We talking about apples falling from trees. This is the fruit.
This is the tree.
Yeah, this is the fruit. This is the fruit of that. And because we've never been willing to grapple with it and tackle it and unpack and dissect and break down, child. Is these markers? These is markers on white paper signs that they drew? Is this the evidence?
This is the evidence. This is the evidence. We also have to understand that, quote unquote, evidence always has to be in quotes, right? Because even as we're talking about Luigi, we understand that there's just simply is always sideways stuff going on, and they are not able to track possession of evidence. You constantly have, forget Luigi, let's go back to OJ. Like this. Where are you? It's not like these cops are in any way above board. No. I mean, this is the other evidence. Here it is. Hold on. So PVC pipes.
These was just out in the open in somebody's front yard. They just took a picture. I mean, none of this stuff makes sense. Like at this, what? Oh. Who writing them signs? You got a whole internet you can speak to. Who writing with Crayola markers on 8x5 printer paper? Their idea, like even the way that they're, and this is another thing though. This is why they attack education the way that they do, because they don't count on us being smart enough to think critically about what they put in front of us. And they want it that way.
And the whole gun situation after CK. Right. And how it was like, oh, there was nothing there. All of a sudden there's something there. And then on the bullets, it just looked like chicken scratch. And so like I don't like black people. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. It's just nonsense. Let me also add that the indictment, that the attorney, what's his name? The federal prosecutor, Bill Asalee. And I want to show you all a picture of him so you can just see what a prick looks like. Because I think it's also like sometimes you just see certain pictures of people and you could tell that this is somebody who wasn't getting none, and this is his way to try and get some vagine. This is first assistant. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. You can tell he's just corny. He's a corny guy.
Wow.
This is Bill Asalee, who says the group was targeting U.S. companies with their bombs. He did not elaborate on the companies. The complaint also alleges that the 4 involved in the plot were not attempting to kill people. And if they saw anyone in the area of their bombs, they would try to warn them. They're going to make their initial appearance in federal court Monday afternoon in Los Angeles.
I bet you there was a lot of pressure to find an indictment after that very embarrassing exchange with Benny Thompson. I bet you there was all of a sudden an urgent pressure to produce something or someone, even if it doesn't stick. That's the other thing. All of this is about the theater of it, right? There's so much political theater happening that I think is meant to distract us from the real actual maneuvering that's happening. And they use Crayola markers and 8.5 by 11 printer paper to do it because they believe that we don't have the literacy, the media literacy, the critical thinking skills, the historical context to situate their efforts. And I think there was a judge too who ruled that person was not supposed to be in charge of that office. And then they just kind of changed. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a court ruling from a judge that what did you say his name?
Asalee.
He's not supposed to be leading that office. So they changed his title, but he's still doing the same thing. Yeah, right. Again, we're in an extra legal.
Well, the other level of nonsense that is happening is that they also know that mainstream media is not going to dig further.
That's right.
Right. They also know that mainstream media is not going to correct with the same effort that they promote.
That's
right. So mainstream media might put this story out there, but let's say, like you said, the theatrics then dissolve into this was nonsense and we're going to throw this out of court and you all can go your merry way. We're not going to see that story.
That's right. Well, I mean, the media is invested in invested as much as the political apparatus in those fundamental building blocks. So they're not, I mean, this is why you don't see media that's critical of, shout out to African Stream. They did African Stream, ain't right. This is why you don't see media
Well,
that's
they have
critical.
Ahmed started something new called Sovereign Media.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, Ahmed collab. So it's called Sovereign Media, and he's working on it. And we actually have journalists that join once a month from the previous African Stream, but now Sovereign Media, to do what we call the Africa Tap-In. And they give us the 1-2 on what's going on the continent.
I love that. And I love you for making space for that, because that kind of elimination is also why we're here.
Yes.
Because you don't see media that's critical of the United States. You don't see media from the marginalized perspective, and mainstream media will not do it. They will create the campaigns for these awful things to happen, and then years later apologize for the lynching campaign, apologize for Iraq. And I imagine we will see in a decade or so apologize for Palestine.
Well, speaking of Iraq, we're going to talk about Rob Reiner later in the show. And Rob Reiner did the film Shock and Awe, which is about the ways in which the New York Times and mainstream media help to support the lies of the administration at the time, Rumsfeld and these folks, in carrying out the manufactured consent for the war. How can people follow you? Where can they get more Ra'Shya Ghee in their lives?
So I love you dearly, and I'm going to correct you, Ra'Shya Ghee.
Why have you let me talk?
I was waiting for the end. This was the time. I was waiting. I just did it. So there it is. You can follow me. I'm on Instagram as Highly Vibey.
But there's an underscore, isn't there?
Yeah, maybe in the middle. Highly_Vibey.
Okay.
Find me.
And
yes, like that. And I'm working on other stuff that I will put on. I'm working on doing podcast stuff. I don't have the scheduling. I don't have the time right now to add it into all the other stuff that I'm doing, but I am working on it. So my hope is to talk more about the ways in which race, law, and politics are engendering the American decline. And, a lot of folks are talking about leaving or talking about what they can do. I want Black folks to realize that our home is with each other. I would be hesitant to call this place or any other place our home. A home is a place that nourishes you. A home is a place that nurtures you, that welcomes you, that's happy to see you, that builds you up, where you find refuge. I don't know if any of those characterizations would fit our experience anywhere, especially here. So I want us to start thinking about each other as our home, and whatever we do, I hope we begin to think of ourselves collectively with that.
And that connects to my concept of we are the soil.
Yeah.
We did not get to connect to the land that we had to become experts at. So we have had to be the land.
Yeah. I hope we take that and internalize it. I think our attempts to save this without engaging with what that means for the globe, for our species, for the planet.
Like, what are we saving?
Yeah. You're talking about saving American democracy. And
you were never an American. It was never a democracy.
And it's going to kill the planet. It's going to kill us all. Whatever you think you're trying to save, you want to prop up Jasmine Crockett while they sending tax dollars over there to bomb babies. I want us all to be well. I want us all to be well with each other. And I want us to understand that, ain't nothing particularly wrong with Jasmine or Kamala, except that they exist in a system that demands this of them. This is the price.
No, there's something wrong with that. They made, like, why are you even giving them that out? Like, they made a choice to go in there. Like, no one held a gun to their head and said, you got to go in here and do this. And other people have gone in there and not done that. So they actually did not have to be that. Cori Bush went in there and didn't do that. Rashida Tlaib went in there and didn't do that. Summer Lee went in there.
But in fairness, they got Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman's ass out of there.
And this is gotten them out of there if the Democrats actually had their back.
Well, that was my other point, more so about the Democratic apparatus, of which Jasmine Crockett and Kamala.
But they support that.
They didn't say nothing. You talking about you for the people. They just snatched your people who for the people out of here, and everybody was quiet. I don't like that.
Kamala married a Zionist. Do you know how much it takes to marry somebody, y'all? Do you understand in this country what it means to marry somebody? She married him. They're family. They're family. She married him.
As Black folks who know that we always on the bottom of any calibration about human worth, I just don't know how you can endorse any position where you calibrating human worth and putting people on the bottom and don't think your ass is next.
And then you'll say to yourself, well, this is for the preservation of America, which Jasmine Crockett has said. So again, like you said, we are caught up in this preservation of a place that has never preserved us.
And the preservation at what cost? You willing to burn the whole planet?
Yeah.
And what you think gonna happen when the whole planet burned? Who you think next? Who you think they feed into the fire next?
The logic just seems so obvious to me, and that's why I can't give them a pass. These are not young people. These are not people who are somehow, misled. These are not people who are struggling financially. These are not people with children. These are not people who have any excuse other than a desire for attention,
for power. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think a lot of it is, again, especially for Black folks, we have not healed. So we understand our wholeness as proximity to white power. And so we believe that can restore a part of our humanity. No, because I spend time with the ancestors. So, I mean, I know my worth and my value. I just spent time. This woman predicted what we going through 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Like, I also want us to change how we refer to Black people, because I know so many Black people that actually don't, right? That actually don't operate like that do spend their time with the ancestors. They come on this show all the goddamn time. They come to my book tours. So like this whole, we enable at a certain point when we're just like, I get it. It's like, come on.
But everybody ain't healed to the same extent.
No, they're not.
And everybody ain't had the same opportunity. Some people don't even know that healing is available.
Correct. I'm just saying that we apply that to people who do have that access. We apply that to people who are actually available, who do have the availability financially, time-wise, etc., to do that. And we do that because we have an ingrained love and grace that I believe is actually a part of our just being human, human.
Yeah. I need to see. I mean, my ability to recognize the humanity in every other person is part of my own humanity, right? My humanity survives because I can see humanity in everybody else. I don't think it's an excuse. I think it's just an acknowledgement of where we are and how much work needs to be done. If we just say these people are bad and write them off, it doesn't give us a pathway for the healing that will need to take place collectively. I think there are more unhealed people than there are healed people. And I think the majority of unhealed people don't have power. I think that's why we don't see it manifesting in this way. I think there's a lot of healing that needs to happen, and we're going to have to make space for that and create an architecture and talk about what healing looks like and what it doesn't look like. And one of the ways it doesn't look like is turning towards white power as a form of validation, as a form of redemption.
So do we continue to platform unhealed people?
No, we should not be platforming these people. I think that's the difference, right? We don't throw people away because people aren't disposable.
Fair.
But we don't platform them either.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yes. We're on the same page.
All right.
I was like, we are on the same page. We're going to get there.
Yes.
Because the page is the same. Because I think that's the thing, is that nuance is what so many people are missing. Like when you critique a Black politician and they say you're tearing her down, and it's like, well, this is actually a constructive criticism based on facts that actually addresses them as a politician even more than them as a character, as an individual, right?
Yeah,
like at the book reading I did in the book talk I did in Dallas, someone was like, well, I want to support Jasmine Crockett just as a person. And I said, then send her a birthday card.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
Like she's not running as your sister. She's not running.
That's right.
She's running as a representative for office. And, there just really is a very real reality that there's a system in place that is bigger than the individual.
Yes, absolutely.
And some might say, well, then why are we expecting an individual to change the system? And what I'm saying is, I don't expect an individual to change the system. I do expect that if an individual goes into that system and they are telling you about change, that they need to be acting differently than other individuals in that system.
And I mean, I think we have to come to grips with the system is not receptive to change. You have to be an arrogant ass motherfucker to believe that all these people who came before you, the brilliance that you draw from, all these other people just couldn't figure it out. You got the answer. Or you
folks love telling me like, you need to run for office. And some people say, Amanda, you need to run for office. Either side of that spectrum means that you think that just me is about to flip this whole script.
That's right. It's the system. I mean, it's like anything else. you're not changing it. It's changing you. You got to respond to it. You have to respond to its incentives, right? What it incentivizes the behavior, it incentivizes in the behavior it does not.
Unless your goal is not to stay there.
Yes, which we need to, if we're going to do anything, we talk about the system we need to build a system where people do not make lifelong careers out of these positions. So that way that they are not trying to please interests that are not the ones that they promised to address when they got in there. I absolutely think that that's true. But I think that also means that governance needs to be more collectively shared. A big part of this is that folks like opting out. They don't want to do the work. They want to show up every 4 years, cast a ballot, and then be like, I did my job. And it's not that. It's a weekly, daily kind of burden that requires us all to participate.
But that's also not even really genuinely possible
in capitalism. Correct. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's why you have
we also know that they're cheating. So I think that also leaves people what's the word I'm looking for?
Disenchanted? You mean who's cheating? Who's cheating?
All these elections are cheating. Because there's corruption.
How can you cheat a rigged system?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's rigged.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what I mean. Like those fundamental building blocks, and this is why anti-capitalism, anti-white supremacy, and anti-militarism will always provoke the violence of the state. Because in order to get any of those other pieces, in order to get collective governance, in order to get an educated polity, you need to attack those concentrations of power. And so those are the heart of the thing. Those are the heart of the thing. When you attack the amount of money we sending over to Israel, when you attack how corporations can amass the wealth that they amass, when you attack the way that race is taught in history, when you get to the heart of the thing, when you attack colonialism, how colonialism is taught in school, when you get to the heart of the thing, that's when you begin to break down those power structures. As someone who's taught this for years, I would get people in my class who would be like really hostile at the outset. And then by the end of the class, they'd be like, oh my God, I didn't know. I had no idea. I hadn't been taught, blah, 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 blah. That's why schools are as contested as any election and any court case. Because the moment you can get to the students, that's why they're opening a turning point chapter on every high school campus in Texas, right? While simultaneously outlawing honest discussion of history, outlawing critiques of the United States. Because if you can get to the minds of people, if you can orient and socialize them into a particular kind of critical thought, all of the rest of this becomes moot, right? They will adjust accordingly. And so, I think if we need to start there, not with fucking Jasmine Crockett.
And there you got it. Thank you so much.
Lovely. I'm so glad we got to connect. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Y'all know what to do. Follow Ra'Shya Ghee at highly_vibey on IGs and get the knowledge. And thank you for teaching the babies and the adults. Y'all, we are here. Our second guest has not come on screen yet. So in the meantime, in between time, I'm going to talk to you about what's been going on with these uprisings, because it really is worth noting that other countries are holding their government's feet to the fires, right? They are holding their feet to the fires. So let me show y'all what's going on in Bulgaria right now. So some of y'all may be like, what is a Bulgaria though? What is a Bulgaria? But you need to know. And then there's also what's going on in Portugal. So first of all, Bulgaria is a European country that is basically going through what a number of other European countries are, which is their parliament keeps getting removed and having to be like re-established because there is a vote of no confidence. A vote of no confidence is similar to, remember when Kevin McCarthy, the Republican, he was put in the seat with the caveat of Speaker of the House. He was put in the seat with the caveat that he would be able to be removed. Okay, because we have different rules because we don't have a parliament. So he was put in with that caveat. And then when Matt Gaetz, decided that he wasn't happy with something, he was able to get him removed. There was like a new vote that got him removed. And that was very effective because they were able to basically flip the script. So Bulgaria, they have literally gotten a new government because the prime minister, Rosen Zhelyazkov, announced his resignation on December 11th. But I want you to hear what he said. So basically, they were about to do another vote of no confidence, and there were 6 votes of no confidence over the past few years. There was about to be another one, and there was all these protests that were happening because they was like, yo, we know that we are about to actually become a part of the European Union. We're afraid for inflation, and we know that y'all playing around. And we also know that y'all got corruption going on, and we're not here for that. And we also know that y'all don't be listening to anything we're saying. So they were like, we are absolutely upset about this. And they keep calling these protests Gen Z protests, but really it's just people who are like, we're not here for this, okay? So it wasn't just the economic grievance, but they don't like the government in general. But this is what I thought was interesting. Their prime minister, Rosen Zhelyazkov, that's what it is, Rosen Zhelyazkov, he said, we have no doubt that in the upcoming vote of no confidence, the government will receive support. So basically he's saying that in Parliament, they had no doubt that even in the next no confidence vote that was brought to the table, they would still get voted as y'all good within the government. He goes on to say, but for us, the decisions of the National Assembly have meaning only when they express the will of the sovereign. Young and old, people from different ethnic groups have spoken out for the resignation. We support this civic energy and encourage it. Now, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I don't know nothing about Zhelyazkov. I don't know what his dealings is. I don't know if he's full of it, but those are really strong words. All right. Now, Portugal is also in these streets right now. You got 1 million workers on general strike in Portugal. Now, folks often refer to the necessity for a general strike here in the United States to really bring capitalism to a grinding halt if we are trying to actually stop the administration that's in power from continuing to do their nonsense. So let's talk about what they've got going on over there before we bring up our next guest. So Portugal is a really interesting place because Portugal has had a revolution of its own that was a people's revolution. And, in Europe, folks really only talk about the revolution, the French Revolution, but Portugal had its own revolution. They call it the Carnation Revolution in 1974. So there was a revolution that actually happened long before that. Hold on, let me get my notes. That started in 1926. Okay, there was a coup that happened in 1926, and it brought in Catholicism, integralism, and this regime, okay, called the Estado Novo, the new state, had Antonio de Oliveira Salazar as prime minister till 1968. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? This man was up in there running things till 1968. And of course, during this time, we have a lot of colonialism going on. So the coup that happened that shifted all of this went down in 1974, and it's called the Carnation Revolution, the Trabalho 21. And basically, that is the package that was presented by the government as a profound reform that would revise more than 100 articles that were already passed and put in place during the 1974 revolution, which was really about workers and bringing the authoritarianism out that was in place for so long. And it was an actual military coup, but then the people was also on board with it. So they was like, oh, I guess we all cooing. Let's coup it up. And it got its name because barely any shots were fired. And the restaurant worker, Celeste Caero, offered carnations to soldiers when the population took to the streets. And then you've seen the images of the carnations in the rifles, et cetera, et cetera. So every year they celebrate this with holding up carnations. Now, what's going on right now, though, is that the current government is trying to reverse the efforts that were put forth during that revolution. And they're trying to make for easier dismissals, expanded employer control. They are removing the socialist gains that happened during that time. And the people are not having it. And I'm loving to see it. I love to see it. The people are not having it. The people are like, wait, we didn't say we don't like it. We said we about this life. Why are y'all actually doing this? No, this is not cool. And this is the Democratic Alliance that's actually trying to do this. And they are right wing and trying to move the goalposts. And this is a part of an international effort. OK, this is not just an American thing. This is an international effort. I don't know if you know, but the person who just got elected as, I can never remember if they're president or prime minister, but of Japan, she's on this wave as well. We all know that Italy been on this wave. OK, so this is a really powerful fascist movement that is happening all over the globe. And I don't want to discount the efforts of the people to push back against this, because I also want to remind us as USians that we can also do the same. Now, speaking of pushing back, we have Captain Josephine. Wait, I want to make sure I pronounce your last name correctly. We have Josephine Guilbeau with us, and I'm going to show y'all a little bit about Josephine, because I don't think y'all understand. We're dealing with a real one. We're dealing with a real one. Okay, so let me just show y'all how Josephine moves.
My name is Josephine Guilbeau. I'm a 17-year Army veteran. I recently got out of the military last year.
For 1 year, I have watched Israel burn children alive. You don't care about veterans. You don't care about American values. You are destroying this country. The moral courage. May God give you the moral courage to do the right thing.
Having that background as an intelligence officer and understanding what defense actually is, I can see clearly that this is not self-defense.
Shame on you.
So we just approached Brian Mass and I asked him, are you spying for Israel?
We need veterans from California all the way to New York to stand against what we are witnessing right now.
All right, guys, breaking news. Congress has just passed FY 2026 National Defense Authorization Act, which authorizes nearly $900 billion of American taxpayer dollars to defense spending.
Rise up, America, rise up. It is time to take back this country from these corrupt politicians.
AmandaLand. We up.
Hello, Josephine.
Hello, Amanda. It is good to see you. Oh my gosh, what a question that is. So I am located about half a mile from Roosevelt Roads base in Puerto Rico. It is a base that was closed down in 2004, and the United States military has recently opened it back up in order to orchestrate this, its imperialism on Venezuela. And so I am actually here doing investigative journalism to see exactly what is going on here, and to also show solidarity with the people in Puerto Rico that they have a right to resist this. This is their island. The United States does not have the authority to use their island as a forward operating base to fight this, war, right, as they like to call it, with Venezuela. So I'm here just getting some grassroots actions off the ground, and yeah.
Wow. I mean, I had no idea that was going on. And that is why investigative reporting is so necessary, because the goal is to keep it quiet, and you are putting it on blast. Thank you so much for your service in that regard, as well as in the military. What even brought you to the military?
Actually, I grew up really poor in America. My father was a disabled veteran. And, if anyone in your audience doesn't understand how they collect a check, like it's based off of, what percentage you're disabled. And, I watched him fight with the VA my entire childhood to collect like livable wage money because he was in severe pain all the time from an injury from the military. So we were really, really poor living off of that. And when I turned 18, I wanted to go to college. Both of my parents had not graduated high school. So this was like a huge goal and like, something I wanted to do. And the only path that I really saw that could be possible was to join the military because at the time they had started introducing the free college incentives.
Yeah.
So I was basically a part of the economic draft into the military, seeking the ability to go to college.
When did the flip happen for you?
I think like, in all honesty, it wasn't like a one-time situation. I think that like over time, things were sort of happening in my life, like seeds maybe getting planted and then like something else would happen and it would go back and like kind of water that idea that had come in my head before. And I think really like the biggest impact as far as it comes to understanding what's going on, but with the genocide in Gaza specifically, which is really what pushed me to the edge of like saying enough is enough.
Yeah.
Was in 2017, I was an intelligence analyst for DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, working on a habeas corpus contract, which is focused on legal processes for the detainees in Guantanamo Bay. There is a due process, I guess, and I quote because it's not really due process, but called habeas corpus, that if you're being detained without charge, you can file through habeas corpus for your legal right to be freed. And many of the detainees in Guantanamo Bay are still there almost 2 decades now without any charges. So I was a part of that team. And some of the information that I was reading was really kind of shocking my consciousness, like some information all the way back that now has gone public about torture camps and black sites and, Abu Ghraib, like all of those things I was kind of reading about from the inside. And it kind of shook me a little bit. And so, I mean, it didn't shake me too much, but enough that I was like, I'm going to start following international media outlets. I want to start hearing what are people saying in these other countries that this is happening to, or other powerful global leaders? What are they all sort of saying about this? This is 2017. Fast forward to October 7th. I'm following these media outlets, and literally on my phone is video after video after video of mass slaughter of children. I mean, what I was witnessing, children's body parts everywhere. Like I was just like in shock. And in a matter of 2 weeks, witnessing this and then also witnessing my government, my leaders, Western media outlets lying, literally what my eyes could see. So you're telling me my eyes are lying? This was not self-defense. I've seen some really crazy things in the US military, but I had never seen anything to this scale of devastation, of death and destruction. And for our leaders to say that this was justified as self-defense, that we were going to normalize this, I was like, hell no, not under my name. I have 4 children. We are not going to normalize this.
Right.
Like what we do there will always come back here. Hell no. So this is like what pushed me out to start speaking and saying, you know what, I'm gonna say something like publicly. And I'm gonna use my like credentials to say, look, I was a part of it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So, people love to use their kids as a reason for why they won't do that. People love to say, well, I have kids, so I can't speak out.
Yes.
How does that work for you?
I'm doing this in part for not only my kids, because I have an instinctual feeling that all children are my children. I'm doing this for the future of our children, for the future of our species, for the future of humanity. If we don't do this, this is, things are going to get worse. I mean, I'm not trying to be like a doomer, but
No, but
things are going to get worse. Like, I came here to Puerto Rico to study the military escalation, only to find out a whole nother slew of things that are happening on this island to these people by US government, by the elite, by corporations. Like, this is, you were talking about it right before I came on. This is happening internationally on a global scale. The leaders in Japan have been brainwashed and corrupted. The leaders in Puerto Rico have been brainwashed and corrupted. There are literally coups happening across the planet in order for empire to keep itself going.
So when we see that, where do we pivot to? Because I'm curious, actually, did you know that you were was it a plan to pivot to journalism?
No, I was a cybersecurity engineer working for Accenture, like making over $200,000 a year. I quit everything. And, you know, the reason I quit at Accenture, I was trying to do both, was because I emailed them and I asked for full transparency if they employed IDF soldiers, because we have a cyber lab in Israel, the company does. And I was like, I'm not comfortable working for a company where I may be in the presence of these war criminals, these murders of children. So I asked HR for transparency if they employed current IDF or former IDF soldiers from Israel that could potentially be complicit in war crimes, and that if they couldn't provide me that transparency, that I was going to resign. And they said, your resignation is effective immediately. So I pivoted. Wow. I was like, okay, bye. And then I was like, what am I going to do? So, you know, I knew I wanted to do something that I could use my voice. I could inspire other people to use their voice to like get out of this sheep mentality, to become like, you know, leaders and people who are guiding everyone into the right direction. I knew I wanted to do that in some way. And
how'd you know that?
So,
because here's the thing, Josephine, like I could talk to you about like the politics of it all, but what really is fascinating to me about you is you, right? Like watching the passion that you speak with and watching the conviction that you have committed to is the thing that I'm trying to get people to find in themselves, right? And so tell me this, before we even talk about that, once they said, okay, it's a wrap, you're resigned, what was the space between that and then, okay, I'm going to do journalism? Like, were you panicked? Did you get support from your family, from anyone who is around you?
Well, I mean, what is journalism? Speaking truth is what I'm doing. Journalism, I guess. I call it that now. It's the easiest word to use. I think that like a word we use in this language that describes, I guess, what we're doing. But I really just feel like I'm just speaking truth to power, that like, if that's journalism, then that's journalism. But
you called it journalism. You said I'm here doing investigative journalism.
Yeah, because I feel like your audience would understand, you know, like I'm here to find out the truth and then I'm gonna tell y'all about it. That's what I'm here to do.
Where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from?
I'm from Louisiana.
Okay, we started just now. I'm here to find, y'all saw the hands. I'm here to find out the truth.
And then I'm gonna tell y'all. And then we're going to go from there. Like, you know, if that's journalism, put it in my title. Okay. How did I get here? Because I cannot sit back.
But cannot support you in that. Like, you have 4 kids. Did the people that are, I mean, I don't know if you have a partner or not, but like, did your family, did they support you in this?
Oh, no. My family actually stopped talking to me November of 2023 because of my advocacy for Palestine. Like, my family are devout Catholics. They all have been programmed to be Christian Zionists and didn't even know it, did not even understand that they were underneath those layers.
Yeah.
But over 2 years of very, very much patience, I have finally peeled those layers back and they support me now. And after 2 years of them cutting me off, we spent Thanksgiving together. They're ready for a revolution. Look,
tell them Thanksgiving ain't the shit neither. Wait till you.
Oh, we talked about it. Oh, believe me, I was at the table talking about it for sure. I was opening up the Bible, showing my aunts and uncles Palestine. I was that one at the table.
Of course. I mean, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. I'm so happy that you've been able to bring them around. That's tough. That's tough. It's like you're already fighting the world and then you're having to fight your world. And it's like, it just feels oftentimes very isolating, but I'm really happy that you've been able to break through. And now you are finding your path in this way. How has that been? Like, do you feel like your, I don't want to say struggles because I don't want to, but what's been your process in this new trajectory of life?
I mean, I had been so hyper focused on what was going on in Gaza and this genocide that there were these like macro and even micro situations that I wasn't aware of that really was the puppet masters of everything going on. And I think that as Americans, we have for the past 2 years really come to this awareness of what's going on across party lines. There's really an opportunity right now for people that are decolonizing, that are deconstructing these narratives that we've been told, and there's a vacuum. And I really do feel like we as people who are fighting for humanity, no matter, what party line, color, race, religion, no matter what, we have to fill that vacuum with truth. And we have to fill that vacuum with love and like this understanding that there could be another vision for this planet. And so I really do feel like bringing truth to power continues that awareness while also in practice as myself trying to be a person filled with love, trying not to spread hate on any, person, understanding their own environment, their own construction. We talk about my family, 2 years it took to deconstruct their colonized minds. And that wasn't easy, but doing it with love. We didn't call each other names. We didn't argue with each other.
Wow.
We took a distance. And then when I could, I would meet them where they were, try and pull them a little bit more, because what you hear that's the military. That's some of the military from Roosevelt Road. We have to meet people where they are. We really do. That's the work. That's the hard work. You can't preach to the choir. That's not going to work. If you're talking to someone that already agrees with you, then what kind of work are you doing? You have to talk to people that disagree with you. Meet them where they are. Don't scream at them. Don't call them names. Just say, just present a better vision, a better option for the world, because this is going to take generations to change, because we are deep in the horrors of our species.
Josephine, I feel like you're yelling at me because
why do you call people names?
Sometimes I can't help it, Josephine.
I'm like, and grace. That's grace and mercy. We have to have grace and mercy. Those are like.
But can I say this in my defense? It's when they call me names first.
Hey, grace and mercy. That's what I say.
That's that Catholic teaching. I have none of that.
And that's source for me, like learning about Jesus, learning about the teachings of Jesus. After all these layers deconstructed out of my mind of all this BS I've been taught, raised as a Republican, super white supremacist environment, like with patriotism is almost like a sacrifice, like a ritual to be patriot to the country. It's its own like spiritual sacrifice that they've programmed us to do. And after I colonized a lot of those things, what was left was the teachings of Jesus, almost like a manuscript, like, oh, if we do some of these things he was talking about, it really makes sense that we could bring heaven on earth. We could get rid of these, these ways of thinking that our elite are trying to pressure all of us. And in doing that are getting rid of the indigenous communities. And that's the part, because their brains are decolonized. So who do they want to get rid of the most? The ones who are not in the matrix. They are targeting these communities on purpose, knowing that they're the ones that still exist that are decolonized.
I feel like I had no real understanding of what indigenous communities were until the context of Palestine as an indigenous community. It's like I felt like I was just understanding that, there are folks whose land was stolen and, you know, that, but I didn't understand the knowledge and the uniqueness of what it means to be an indigenous community.
Yes.
Where did you get that insight from and that knowledge?
Yeah, I think understanding the plight of Palestinians really made me understand that too, because if I'm being honest, in my mind, I thought indigenous communities were just people that still lived like, you know, in like African villages, like in the rainforest,
Jungles.
untouched, in jungles. I always kind of just like assumed that's an indigenous community. But no, indigenous communities are people that still live in harmony with the earth, that still see humanity as a priority, that still believe that we are all one family, and that karma goes around and that energies go around, and what we do here can affect there. And like they truly, most indigenous people I meet don't believe in killing our own offspring. This is a human being, like human beings, human species literally kill their own offspring. What other mammal does that besides a lion when it kills the male cubs? You don't find it often where there's mammals that mass slaughter their own offspring.
They reject. They may not slaughter, but they reject. They may be
reject.
Yeah, I'm not really rocking with you, goat.
If we're supposed to be the most advanced species, the most conscious species, and we're doing this kind of thing, you know, we have to ask ourselves, are we really evolved as a species? And the indigenous people really teach you to have that harmony back with earth and, you know, creation, God's creation of who you are and what you're really meant to do here. And I think we're really erasing that sacred knowledge.
How do you connect this to your kids?
Oh, number one, obviously.
That was a deep ancestral side.
It's because it's not easy to decolonize while also trying to raise children to not be colonized. It's not easy. You know, I have 4 children and my oldest is 16. So to a degree, I'm starting a little bit later with her. And I do get a lot of hesitation because I think capitalism and like material things and like Lululemon tights, like for her, that she was homecoming queen this year. She's still in this like,
oh, she's that girl. That's the other thing. She's that girl.
Yeah. So it's a little bit harder with her, but for sure she's for free Palestine, 100%. She knows.
Okay, we love a homecoming queen who is pro-Palestinian. We love it.
Exactly. And you know, her and her friends boycott Starbucks. They don't go to Starbucks for coffee anymore. All the cheerleaders.
You're not giving yourself enough credit. Like that's big because that's.
I thought so. I think so. Hey, steps, baby steps. Now I have a 2, 4, and 5-year-old. So this is really some crucial times for us as mothers with young children where we are imprinting on them like forever. And so I am very careful in what we're teaching them, what we're saying, what they're watching.
Yeah.
It's so important, especially when you got YouTube running for 3 hours with whatever it wants to put in your algorithm. Like everything like in their environment, I'm hyper focused on because I want to make sure that they become just like I am right now, speaking out for people, especially as white blondies, like, and 2 of them are boys. So like white blonde boys speaking out for oppressed people. I'm going to need that.
I mean, because Josephine, we here at Views from AmandaLand do consider you a high quality white. And that is that's a big deal. Okay. So, I mean, at some point I'm going to do a book of high quality whites and you're in it.
Yay, my first present in a book.
Yeah, no one needs a Nobel Peace Prize. Get you a high quality white prize.
Hell yeah. I want to have my 4 kids like that because that is where I can make the first difference. The number one difference I can make for the future of this world is my kids. Like I have direct access and control over what goes in and out of their little brains and their hearts. And so number one for me as a mother, that is a priority. Like I am hyper focused on making sure that I'm talking about things with them, even about food, healthy food, unhealthy food, happy food versus healthy food. That's what we call it. And like I'm deconstructing all of these things because I want them to carry on this knowledge and these ideas. And I hope other mothers, like if they feel like, oh, I can't go to protests or I can't, do any of these things. The one thing you can do in your home is decolonize your children.
Y'all heard that? That's the one thing you can do in your home. Can you give people any tips on beginning that process? I know one, you said it's also about what it's about what they're watching.
Yes, watching cultural things, like putting things on TV that talks about another culture, or like a cartoon that is placed in like another culture. I really love Bluey. And, you know, if you have like a 2-3-year-old, it's the perfect one. Bluey is so, I mean, they're from Australia, and they have, you know, the little funny accent. It's going to probably be your kid's first time hearing a different accent, but they're such a nice family and they love each other. It's like a great way to introduce your kid to another that speaks English that they can understand. But also introducing them to like little mini animated documentaries about Palestine or about Sudan or about, I mean, like anywhere, China, just fill in the blank, right? So I think like as far as like television goes, just making sure things are cultural. Books. What books are you reading to your kids at night? What do the characters look like? Are you picking books with all white as a white mother of all white children, or am I picking books where the people look different and dress different and maybe speak differently? That's important too, because that's imprinting in their mind. We read books every night. So my books are about, I get books about Ramadan. I get books about Palestine, you know, like, why is mommy saving the children? Well, let me tell you about the children mommy's trying to save, and like introducing them to that, and also taking them to events, like story times that are in a community of people that you might not normally go there. So like if you want to introduce your children to have Muslim friends, go to the community where the Muslim people are, go to the park, go to their library, go to their story time, go to events that they put on, like their, you know, markets. What do you call the markets on the weekends? Not fresh markets?
Like farmers markets?
The farmers markets. Like go into these different communities and introduce your kids to them, because I'm telling you, the minute that your child grows up, for example, with a Muslim friend, any propaganda about Muslim, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, I got a Muslim friend.
Right.
That's not right.
And the other one that you named is decolonizing their palate. Right? Because just the food that they're eating, right? Welcoming them, introducing them to different foods. And, you know, my first grade teacher, I'm still in touch with her. And she said that she ended up leaving education when she stopped being able to be creative with how she was bringing that to kids. And they used to do a unit where they would have on every Friday, they would bring in like a dish from somebody's parents' culture. And they said that she wasn't allowed to do that anymore. Right.
I'm not surprised to hear that. I'm honestly not surprised to hear that, because in America, our like the Department of Education and the curriculum that they push down our throats is very much to colonize us, very much to put these walls between us and these other ideas about people, or to extend love to other people. They definitely, from a young age in our like public schools, start that brainwashing.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel very fortunate to have been to public school in the early 80s before things got really, really crazy. Like, I remember us learning how to make guacamole because there was mad Mexicans in the class. So we had to learn how to make guacamole. And at the time, my palate was not developed yet, Josephine. And I was like, this is nasty. And now you cannot keep me away from guacamole.
Same. I just had some here. I went to the restaurant and I said, do you have guacamole? Not from the bag. Because I don't eat guacamole from a bag. Like, if you didn't make that guacamole from an avocado like 2 hours ago, I can't touch it.
So where do you find yourself? I mean, I don't like asking people what's next because you're already in the midst of what's next, right? Like, you're literally in Puerto Rico and you are working with the people. I guess the question I have for you is, what is an interest that has come into your horizon that you feel like Americans don't know about but need to?
I think running for office. I think people need to understand how impactful it is to run for school board, to run for local city council, to run for Congress, to run for mayor, and not to underestimate themselves. I have met so many people right now that are running for positions in Congress, and like, if we back them, and these are people with like humanity principled in their heart. Do I agree with them about everything? No, but do I see that at least principled in their, you know, souls is humanity? If we get around, and like, primaries are coming up, March primaries, if we can get 5 to 10 candidates that we can all grassroots throw our efforts behind to promote, we could start showing these politicians that have been corrupted that we do hold the power. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is people need to understand we hold the power. We do. They've tried brainwashing us to believe that we don't, but we really do. Do I think we can vote our way out of this? No, not at this point.
I waiting for y'all. They were
No.
like, no.
No, but if we're not going to have, if we're not at a 1776 revolution, then we need to use the tools that we do have right now to at least slow down what is coming, like, down the pipeline, the death and destruction that is increasing across the planet, both here at home with immigrants getting separated, mothers and children getting separated, and then this, you know, nation is claiming Christianity. It's all being done under the name of Christianity. Do you, like, I talk to people who support the ICE and immigration. I'm like, you as a Christian are supporting like these police to separate Christian families. Most of these immigrants, by the way, are our Christian brothers and sisters. So how is that Christian? It's Christian. They're not Christian. They're abusing the religion of Christianity, just like Benjamin Netanyahu has abused the religion of Judaism
Absolutely.
to perpetrate an agenda. And of course, I'm not going to leave out the fact that there are Muslims that abuse Islam to perpetrate agendas. It happens across the board. And recognizing that and calling that out is so important. So if we're not going to have a 1776 revolution, we got to start voting for people until we could get there.
Well, we appreciate you and thank you so much for all of your efforts and for always being willing to raise your voice, put your body on the line, get arrested, and also for actually taking a very direct and proactive effort as a parent to raising people. Right? Because people think about kids. No, you're raising adults that are carrying forth and need to understand that the world they're coming into is going to require them to actually be the ones that shift it. So that is not lost on me. So thank you so much, Josephine. We are definitely lifting you up in a high vibration over there in Puerto Rico.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe. And I say stay safe, but you're not going to stay safe. So just be protected. Be protected.
That's so funny. I just told I'm here. I met up with a friend in Puerto Rico who's been on this journey with me, and I literally left her house and told her mom and aunt. I said, "All right, we're going to get in trouble now."
Yeah, like stay safe is a silly way to send you off. So be protected, and just know that we're all here rooting for you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Free Puerto Rico, free Palestine, free Turtle Island.
All the above. Thank you so much, Josephine. We're so lucky, y'all. We are so lucky here at this show that we get to have such great folks come on and talk to us and share with us their journey. You know, when people will say to me like, Amanda, what are you doing? You're not doing anything. I'm like, yo, on a very basic level, what I'm doing is creating a place for people who are doing the things that aren't going to get mainstream coverage, or even if they do, they are going to have to be speaking in defense of their work versus speaking in exalting and also in pushing other folks to share and join with them, right? I feel like so often when I see folks like Josephine on mainstream media, they're being expected to defend the work that they do as if the work that they do isn't what everybody should be doing. It just drives me nuts. That's why I stopped going on mainstream media, actually, because I feel like they're always, you know, asking me dumbass questions. I'm just like, I'm not coming on here for free so you to ask me some dumbass questions. Y'all need to keep it. So thank you again to Josephine for joining us and for Ra'Shya. We are so lucky, and I'm just going to pat myself on the back because people don't come on this show and are sharing for no reason, right? It's not like I have some million followers, etc. They come on the show because we are continuously creating a network of people that understand that we are all connected. Like we are demonstrating the mycelium. Like that's what we're demonstrating, right? So like when I see folks that come in my comments and they say things like, oh, you know, what are you even doing? I'm like, you must not be a part of the mycelium, baby, or else you would know what we was doing. So let me just tell you how Black I feel today. How Black do you feel today? Hey. So I just came back from the first run, like all together run of the What Would the Ancestors Say Mission Vision book tour. And I went to DC, Baltimore, LA, San Diego, Chicago, Seattle, Detroit, Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, and New Orleans. And it was really interesting going to all of these different places and just really getting to be in all of these different venues, because they also allowed me to keep 100% of my book sales, which I truly appreciate, because I don't think people really understand that this is what pays for me to be able to come and be in existence in this way. When you guys subscribe to my Patreon, which is $5, when you guys buy pins and buy books, this is what allows me to be out here. There's no sponsorship, y'all. Like I'm paying for the travel by the books that I'm selling. There's no publishing company that has a budget set aside to send me out on the road. The work that's happening on the road is the work of decolonizing, but it's also the work that you guys are doing when you guys create community in line or while you're waiting to start. And it was so dope seeing folks actually leaving the space, talking to each other that didn't know each other when they got there. So I wanted to show you all this reel that I put together from all of the cities and some of the highlights of things that were said. But really, it's about you guys showing that this is a necessary space that continuously needs to be built. And I feel so honored to be a part of building that space.
My name is Josephine.
So I'm here in San Diego for the first stop on the What Would the Ancestors Say mission-driven book tour. And I'm being treated really lovely and it feels beautiful. And folks are showing up. The time, shit. Man, when we heard about that Lincoln, about to bring that Emancipate Proclamation, it's the fact that someone over here went stupid. Because you're correct.
For those of us who want to inspire courage in others, what advice do you have?
Do you demonstrate courage? We know that folks are not on it, so you're like, come, let's do courage, guys. And they're like, bitch, like, you know, it's folks are like, I'm busy. You know, I have a hair appointment. I can't do courage today. I don't even know the next time she's gonna be free. Like, I can't. Who's gonna be there at Courage? We have now become the tools of capitalism in a mental form. And I'm not saying anything that hasn't already been said. Like, this is not like, oh my gosh, she cracked the code, y'all. It ain't that. However, the code continues to require cracking. They keep coming up with new codes. And because so many of us do not see that, we don't prevent it.
Tell us how we can really utilize what you put in the book as a resource and tool and reference guide.
Hi. My name is Dolly, but we don't have to
everybody else. We can go through a portal of imagination. Did you know that we can go somewhere where there's no limitations? Where everything that Amanda talks about in the book that came before, and all of those things, all of the things are just a part of everything that we can be.
We had our gods, we had our land, and we were stripped from that. And we were forced to establish something brand new here, in spite of the constant threat of death, degradation, and terrorism. And somehow we managed to form Blackness. Hey, Chicago!
Say books won't change the world. Tell that to every colonizer that burned them.
Look at this. They have a free bookshelf right here at Burst Into Books.
You having a space like this in this neighborhood with a bookshelf for free books outside is handing out ammunition to the people.
And I made my signature dish, pineapple casserole. Yee! Not y'all having an actual table up here.
Many black folks who served in the Civil War have said that the first time that they felt like they were seen by white folks was because they had a gun in their hand. They were seen as a threat, but they were also seen as capable.
Do it.
The SEAL Squad.
The first thing that all of these fascists do is burn books. And I read somewhere that it's not that they're burning books because they want to destroy art. It's not that they're burning books because they want to disrupt history. They're burning books because they want to destroy memory. They want to destroy the memory of what was there before they got there, so that folks will not fight to get it back. I start with the fact that it's not about being Black. It's about being people. And, you know, Malcolm went all the way to Mecca to figure that out. And so that was a journey he did. So I don't got to go to Mecca to figure that out. We have media companies that claim to be Black media peddling a concept that questioning is problematic. A mission is literally the thing you're doing to get to the thing you're doing. And I ask myself, but what can we take control of? Right? So if I feel like I don't have control of that, then I start mapping a course. But I'm also an artist. So I'm like imaginative in what that can be. And I know that for a lot of us, we are stuck to a grid of only what we have seen is possible. I have a master's degree in African American studies, but I don't realize the proximity with which things happened in the 60s. In my mind, they exist as these separate siloed events, when in actuality, they happened in rapid succession. I have a master's degree in African American studies, but I cannot tell you the contents of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. I can't tell you the contents of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And I can't tell you how it was gutted. No matter how tapped in I thought I was left out. And I had to check myself and get over myself and step in.
Me encontraste en un negro camino.
My final question.
You shared recently that witnessing the faith and spirituality of Palestinians has shifted your own views of a higher power. Could you talk more about how that experience influenced you?
All at the same time, I was ostracized from Black Hollywood. I was realizing I'm autistic. I was deeply vested in the Palestine movement. Okay, so my friend Laura Chung is an astrologer, and she always talks about how like astrology just came to her. Like it wasn't something she had to really like study. She was like, even when she started learning the words, it was like, yeah, of course. That's how spirit came to me. It was like one day it was like I didn't get it and I just got it. And I think the reason why it happened is because when I was ousted from Hollywood, I was disconnected and I gained a new consciousness around manufactured consent and the lies of our government. I became available to being able to take in the indigenous knowledge of how we really are connected in the soil. And there was a block that would prevented that before, and it was capitalism. Does that make sense? Yeah. People have the power. And, you know, H. Rap Brown, may you rest in peace. And I don't say rest in power, rest in peace. Because you was here going through it, and they was not giving you the care you deserved when you were locked up as a prisoner of war in the United States. And I really want our ancestors to rest in peace. Like when I start in the book, I talk about Harriet Tubman saying, like, every time y'all be on some bullshit, you are disrupting us. We are literally rolling in our graves, and Rosa Parks broke her glasses. So y'all need to get it together.
Can you just give people a good word?
Listen, the good word was just said. Amanda was over here preaching to the people, telling us to make sure that we use our minds and our radical imagination to transform the world.
Two of the smartest people on the planet.
Think I'm trying to scare people. And I'm like, yes. Yes. They're like, you're being alarmist. Yes. Woo, 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 alarm. Because there's just a history of folks being reactionary. And there's always people who are like, you know, this is about to go down. And everyone's like, no, it's not. Brother Amir said, it looked like you about to give a lecture on the top and then go to a protest on the bottom. So I'm ready when you all are. So to talk about all of those things in this piece, I chose to do so through different methods because I am somebody who needs variation, right? Like I love a nonfiction book for the first chapter.
It's a lot going on. Listen, God loves us all. We love him. The ones that truly want him and everything, it's all going to work out. But them that ain't right, they going to get their due. And they deserve it. Because it's wrong. And stop playing. And love everybody. Keep praying.
Yes,
y'all keep doing what y'all doing. And keep loving him.
Yes, enjoy the food, baby. Enjoy the food.
I will. Thank y'all. Hey, I'm praying for y'all. Y'all pray for me.
Okay. We will.
They want you to say, I think instead of I know. And so you get trained in that even with your own internal voice. And you start doubting your internal voice. And now you've also been trained to be in fear all the goddamn time. So you can't even tell the difference between intuition and fear. On Juneteenth, white people, where y'all at? Y'all should have to shut the up. That is what I believe should have to happen. On Juneteenth, you just shut up because there is so much reflection that happens in silence. And I'm not talking about twerking, and I'm not talking about having a good time. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the literal decision to be arrogantly ignorant, which is a very American trait. Because in order to perpetuate white supremacy, you have to believe the lie that white is supreme. That's a goddamn lie. There's nothing that supports this. Nothing. Look at basketball. I see.
Y'all, this is one of the real ones, one of the last ones, one of the next ones.
It better not be the last.
No, I know. Ms. Mary Hooks, and I just want to thank you on camera for the continued unrelenting effort and pressure on these motherfuckers' necks.
Period.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Oh, we appreciate you, beloved. Oh my God.
I'm so proud of you. Thank you. And I'm so glad I could be a part of your journey to helping yourself.
Absolutely.
And thank you for receiving my assistance.
Yes.
So excited for today. I love that she uses her voice. Like, she doesn't hold back from speaking the truth and really just magnifying what needs to be spoken about, and then really creating a forum for people to articulate themselves.
Would also like to point out that coalition has been a thing, you know, and the folks that I see say really generalized statements never can tell me where their sources are from. And I will ask them, where have you learned majority of your information? And they will tell me from school, from mainstream media. And I'm just like, neither of these places are created to tell you the truth, particularly as it relates to Black people.
I like what she stands for. I like how she thinks outside of the box. She encourages us to also think for ourselves and think outside of the box.
There's an awakening happening because folks are starting to ask questions, and more folks are starting to say, yeah, when folks ask questions. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And I encourage all of you all to do the same, to, you know, get in the habit of saying why, and not just about like external stuff, but internal stuff. Why am I reacting like that?
I'm really excited today. I'm just excited to be surrounded by Amanda and all of her knowledge.
To me, any adult who gets it, we should be in service. We should be trying to figure out, how do we get young people around us like in tune?
Thank y'all for having me. All right. Till 2020. Why are you being so serious?
Oh, okay.
Till 2026. We did it. We'll see you then. All right. I hope y'all enjoyed that little recap there. I purposely did not put Isabel in the recap because I know she'd be trying to be incognito, and then you said it right here in the chat, and I was like, so fabulous getting to meet so many SEAL squatters out here in the world. And I really am just so appreciative of the attentiveness and the willingness of folks to also volunteer and be a part of helping me with selling merch, etc. It is no small effort being independent, and it requires a village. And you guys are that village. So thank you to the AmandaLanders and the SEAL Squad. So, you know, guys, it's time for us to get into our critical thinking exercise of the week. So actually, before we do that, I want to talk about Rob Reiner. So unless you've been like basically living under a rock in the United States, you may not have heard that actor director Rob Reiner was very brutally murdered in his home this weekend with his wife. And now his son is actually to my knowledge, indicted, or at the very least under arrest for the murder. And, you know, I think it's a really difficult thing to I know that it is a difficult thing to be in Hollywood and be non-white and standing for stuff, but it also is difficult to be in Hollywood and be white and actually stand for stuff. He was also Jewish and to stand for stuff, because there is an assumed idea that you're just going to go along with whatever is the get along. And Rob Reiner is somebody who really was not about that. And I appreciate that not only in just his work, but also in his life. You can see from early on when he was on All in the Family, like this is the type of dialogue that he was bringing to the United States.
We got to break down in law and order in this country, Archie. Because we got poverty, real poverty. And you know why we got that? Because guys like you are unwilling to give the black man, the Mexican American, and all the other minorities their just and rightful hard-earned share of the American dream.
Like in the 70s, that was not a small thing to be on national television talking about. But I don't think a lot of you all know that Rob Reiner also directed some of the greatest films of all time. Okay? You can't handle the truth. All right? A Few Good Men. Misery. We all remember Misery when she put that piece of wood between that man's legs. Pop, pop. Woo! And that's not a Harriet Tubman pop, pop. The Princess Bride. Y'all, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. I mean, if I sit here and run down every line from The Princess Bride, we'll be here all day. As you wish. Inconceivable. I do not think that word means what you think it means. Okay? I mean, a classic. Shock and Awe was his latest film. I don't know if it was his latest film, but it was a very recent film that I hope everybody will watch. And it is about the manufactured consent of the Iraq War. This is a very big deal to make this film because he's making it within the context of consciousness. And we are seeing the same thing happen right now with Venezuela. And he actually calls folks by name. The New York Times is talked about very deliberately in this film in how they actualized the manufactured consent of the Iraq War. And how it was an independent newspaper, a small newspaper, that was actually the ones that had it right. He also did Stand By Me when the night is done. Yeah. And the day, what is it? When the day is on, the night is and you stand by me. And last but not least, one of the greatest films ever made in the history of filmmaking. When Harry Met Sally! Written by one of the greatest, Nora Ephron. Jeez. Film is such an incredible art form. Film is something that really, in its invention, which stamps human existence in a really unique way. So Rachel, who is it right here? M. Gonzo. I'll have what she's having. Everything has to be so urgent with you. Yes, because when you figure out you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. I'm just saying. And someone here said not a sappy movie guy. When Harry Met Sally is not sappy. When Harry Met Sally is one of the best written films ever. It has no extra lines. There are no extra lines. Same with Coming to America, by the way. There are no extra lines. Every single line either moves the story forward or moves the character depth, makes the character analysis deeper. Every single line. That type of writing, come on. And then it is filmed comedically without forfeiting cinematography. He gives you New York. You see it. Look at this cover right here. And right, what's playing at that point is Autumn in New York. And by the way, randomly, in addition to this, you got an entire Harry Connick Jr. soundtrack. It's had to be you. Boom, boom. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found that somebody who could make me feel true, could make me feel blue, or even be glad just to be sad, thinking of you. Scooby-Doo, boom. Come on. It's just so unfortunate he met such a violent end and at the hands of his own child, you know. But what I also want to point out is that I absolutely Googled, was he a Zionist? Okay, because these days you absolutely need to look. And I was very happy about what I came across. And what I came across is, hold on, I have it right here. Some others I've seen might never be me. In the week of Shock and Aw's release in 2017, Reiner joined several Arab filmmakers to criticize Trump, who during his first term unilaterally recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, a move that was criticized by Palestinian officials and other Arab nations. Reiner, who was Jewish, signed a petition led by Palestinian director Anne-Marie Jassir, slamming the decision. We stand in solidarity with the Palestinians in Jerusalem, the capital of Palestine, and an open sacred city that belongs to all Muslims, Christians, and Jews, the petition read. In your decision, Mr. President, you have created more animosity, less faith, and profound sorrow in the hearts and minds of all justice lovers in the world. I was really relieved to see that. And to also see in the film Shock and Awe how conscious he was about the Islamophobia being attached to the manufactured consent. So I saw someone here in the chat say that apparently his son was upset about a film that he had put out called Being Charlie. I read his son was apprehensive about the making of Being Charlie for fear of it triggering unwanted thoughts while he was newly clean. He had drug demons, and when he gets clean, he will. I'm not sure what their end of that was. Still not a reason to stab folks, though. Still not a reason. So rest in peace to Rob Reiner and his wife, and may we continue to feel the joy of his films, to carry us through the terror that we are in the midst of. AmandaLand. Let's get it. So I don't know if you all heard about this, but CNN has partnered with a company called Kashi that is a betting service. And I want to tell you more about it. I made a video about it for the internet, so I want to just catch you up to speed with it real quick. So like every day I wake up and I'm like, nah, it can't get wilder. And then it does. CNN has partnered with a gambling app that lets you wager on current events and world events. Basically, they are literally making betting around war, around starvation, around natural disasters, which at this point are unnatural disasters, etc. You're literally betting on demise. Remember in Gladiator how people would make bets on like which gladiator would beat the beast? Now, the people making the bets are the ones making the beasts. We're the gladiators in the ring. How quick before people are literally betting on whether or not they'll survive a situation, hoping that if they do, they'll get a payout. We're in the Squid Games. That's where we are. I think that's the most dystopian I've ever seen. I think it is. I think we've done it. I think we've met the final boss of capitalism, betting on our demise. So I wanted to understand more about how this even happens, right? Like this company, Kashi, has definitely been getting money by creating these betting universes, right? So people told me that this has actually been going on in a number of other like spaces and places beyond sports, but now it's expanded and now it's become, of course, so commonplace that they can actually make it an industry. However, you have to have a certain kind of mind to think this way. And so I want to show you a video that is the actual owner of Kashi, and he's going to look different than I think you may expect. And him talking about what this is really connected to in a broader sense.
The point here is that it's not about yes-no question. Like over time, we're going to introduce different structures and there's going to be questions that are not yes-nos. But it's about underlyings that are non-traditional. Like could you financialize in anything that people care about? And you know, Kashi is everything in Arabic. The long-term vision is to financialize everything and create a tradable asset out of any difference in opinion.
So that is Tarek Mansour, who is the co-founder and CEO along with Luana Lopez Lara. They are married. And I'm just like, how does one get this way? But then I think about how many Arab countries have completely disregarded Palestine for the goal of capitalism, for the goal of money. Because if I'm assuming if his name is Tarek Mansour, I mean, he's Arabic, but I don't know if he's Muslim. And I don't know where his like family is from. It sounds a little bit Pakistani, but I could be wrong. But they did meet at MIT. And some of y'all may be like, well, why are we even talking about his personal life? Because the way that these people are raised and the way that they are, kind of conditioned in the world is what they end up actually giving to the world, right? That is 9 times out of 10 how it happens. Now you look at a unique person like Josephine Guilbeau, or you look at a unique person like Mark Wayne, who were actually raised a certain way, but then they were put and thrust into a certain scenario that allowed them to expand. These folks were put into, like I see y'all in the chat, MIT, where are these places where we are seeing technocracies grow in such a disparaging fashion. We're seeing these technocracies in a way that is beyond any consideration for human life. So I wanted to hear from you guys. How do you feel about the consistent encroaching of making everything financialized? Every single aspect of your life being financialized. How do you feel that can be challenged? What are ways in which you feel like there is effort to push back against this. I'll play some hold music. No, I don't want to play that. So we got people saying it's offensive. This is the bad place. Actively addicted. These tech bros are not human. I'm disgusted by it. Paywalls everywhere is just gross. Mutual aid and co-ops, learning to live, that's their suggestion. Eve Story says if we financialize everything, then our lives will hold no true value. I want to just also point out that money is made up. Because that's the other part of this. It's like we're living in a literal, when people be like, we're living in the Truman Show, I know that some people think and like laugh that off, like, oh, ha, 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 no, it's actually real. But to be quite honest, we in a way are living in the Truman Show because they've literally made up the system of our existence. Like money is a made up system. These banks are literally the ones who run the show. I saw a scroll the other day and I haven't gotten to fact check it, but it was essentially saying that several presidents who were outwardly against and oppositional to the banks were either assassinated or attempted to be assassinated. And so when we see this actualizing of this on a whole other level that is so dystopian, and now this is a partnership with CNN. So I have been talking about CNN being a absolute source of dystopia for quite some time now, but this should give you everything you need to know. So any news that you're getting via CNN is now attached to a financial gain, and that financial gain will come in how they report it, right? Because how they conceptualize it, how they contextualize it, all the above, that's going to be about how it relates to the parlay. So when I see this, I'm like, this is deeper than I think people could really imagined. Happiness, the brand said, emphasizing that the end game of life is not simply wealth, but the quality of life you lived, redefining the purpose of life. I mean, happiness is the brand is the great name, if this is how you're talking, because I completely agree. I feel like I was sold from a very early age, and not even by my mother, but more so just by that which was around me, this idea that material wealth was actually the example of success, and that I really could not be considered successful unless I had material gains. And there was a time where my mom was literally like, you don't care enough about money. And I know she was saying that more from the mindset of like, you really need to be able to take care of yourself. But there was still also within that, this idea that you are not going to be considered of status if you don't have money. And to be quite honest, now that I've been able to become financially secure in that way, I think that there's a version of life that if you can, if you're able to just be able to not think about and not worry about money, that is the goal. And that can be addressed in socialism. That can be addressed in the way that our societies support each other. And that can be addressed also in how you choose to live your life. Like I changed the way I live my life, right? Vito says, I actually feel we need to be going to opposite direction, indigenous ways of engaging communal systems where we can exist in reciprocity. I 100% agree. The problem is that I don't have the knowledge yet on how to do that, right? And then it's like, okay, Amanda, but listen to the things that you always tell us. If you're trying to do something, there's already somebody that's already trying to do it. So it's like, I got to figure out where those people are. You feel me? I got to figure out where they are so that I can bring them on the show so I can get involved with them, etc. And I feel like it's also a reflection of us really being at the behest of all of these media like inputs selling us this lie, right? Selling us this lie. And someone said, even in socialism, somebody is still going to need to run the hospitals and sewer systems. Fair. Yes. However, the checks and balances are far greater. And there is a reality that is expected, which is that those systems run efficiently and effectively because the people's money is funding it. So people can actually be far more demanding on how things are operating because we are the ones that are making it operate. Whereas right now, if you privatize everything, we don't get to be that. We don't get to have a say in nothing. You know, they basically are like, no, we're private, so we can do whatever we want. That is incredibly problematic, and it is not a democracy. And now they have privatized how you are getting the news within the context of gambling. Yeah. It's deeply disturbing. And the tech bros are going to just levels that I don't think any of us can even truly grasp. I want to play for you this TED Talk by journalist. Is it here? Hold on. I want to play for you this TED Talk because I really want you guys, it's not a long TED Talk at all, it's just a clip. But I want you all to hear what this woman is saying about the technocracies and how they are financializing everything about us and even how we live and where we live. And I saw a woman in Detroit who the community or the government gave her a house or gave her basically an apartment to live in. And they had this happy music and they made it a feel-good story. Do you know why they gave her the house or why they gave her the apartment to live in? She has 5 kids. 2 of them died of hypothermia because they were sleeping in the car. That is a completely avoidable situation. No one had to be kicked out of that apartment for her to live in it. Completely avoidable. It is deeply disturbing that this is how we are like literally making feel good. We are doing the thing in the aftermath of tragedy that was avoidable. And we're doing it because everything has been financialized. And so all the housing that could be provided to people ends up sitting empty unless tragedy strikes.
Russian and American presidents are now speaking the same words. They are telling the same lies. We are watching the collapse of the international order in real time, and this is just the start. Coups are like concrete. When they stop moving, they set. It is already later than we think. This image, some of you in this room might know these people. I call it tech bros in hostage situations. It's a message to you. This is Putin's playbook. He allows a business elite to make untold riches in exchange for absolute loyalty. Some people are calling this oligarchy, but it's actually bigger than that. These are global platforms. It's broligarchy. There is an alignment of interests that runs through Silicon Valley to what is now a coming autocracy. It's a type of power that the world has never seen before.
Correct.
It's always the data. It's the crack cocaine of Silicon Valley. You know, the first thing that Elon Musk did was to send his cyber troops into the US Treasury to get access to the data. That is not a coincidence. It's a hack. That data is now feeding AIs that are choosing who to sack and who to replace. Sorry, eliminate fraud and waste. When we broke the Cambridge Analytica story about the harvesting 87 million people's Facebook data, people freaked out. Rightly. This is chicken feed compared to that. But it is the blueprint. It's always the data. Which is why it's so important that you start thinking about your private life. The broligarchy doesn't want you to have one. This is the old headquarters of the East German secret police. They kept detailed files on almost 1 in 3 of their citizens. That is nothing compared to what Google has on every single one of us and hundreds of other companies. The entire business model of Silicon Valley is surveillance. It harvests our data in order to sell us stuff. We are already living inside the architecture of totalitarianism. It may not have been deliberate, but we now have to start acting as if we live in East Germany and Instagram is the Stasi.
So this also references the financializing of our data. So the overarching conversation here today is around financializing. And financializing is the commodifying, basically creating a financial value around everything in your life that can be capitalized on. And so now to see that CNN has partnered with a betting app to actualize the financializing of our very experiences, we can, of course, say that it can only go down from there. So, oftentimes when I do these critical thinking exercises, I have a path that I'm going to take us through that lands in, solution-based ideas and, really just trying to identify how to challenge and whatnot. And it always ends up coming back to the same stuff when it has to do with capitalism. And that really ends up being that we have to slow the system. And Adrian said, we need to stop buying stuff. And that's the thing. It's like, I try to minimize the way in which people are engaging with a system in order to support my stuff. But then at the end of the day, here we are, and we're on YouTube and we're on IG, right? Like eventually I want to be able to have a place where I do my show and you all come and watch my show. And hopefully people who agree with us will create spaces that do the work that's done here outside of these frameworks. And I know that it's a long shot, but I'm hoping that we will get there. I started seeing people creating there's someone who used to work for Twitter, I think it is, created an app that doesn't require, created like a texting app, I think, like a Twitter kind of app that doesn't require Wi-Fi. And then I saw somewhere that they created, that there's like a phone that you can get now that doesn't require you to put in your name, I believe. So, all of these things, the surveillance, etc., when we ask ourselves, how does it connect? It's all about making all of our lives able to make money from, and they will surveil and use that surveillance in order to do that. And they're just psychotic, greedy people. Like, it's not like it's anything even deeper than that. These people are psychotic sociopaths who have been able to amass wealth and hang out with each other and be pedophiles. That's what we're dealing with. So, it's a doozy. It really is. And I'm hoping to God that more of us continue to wake up and challenge what is coming at us in more innovative ways, because I got to tell you, sometimes I'm like, I got nothing. But there's always somebody out there who's like, well, now, wait a minute. AmandaLand. PSA. One of the things that keeps me sane, because that's a question that I got in every stop on the What Would the Ancestors Say tour, was people asking me, what keeps you sane? What keeps you sane? And I started really thinking about it. And I think once upon a time, I would have had so much more elaborate answers. And at this point, what keeps me sane is literally going to sleep and going outside. And also, and this is the most important one, not expecting myself to be sane. Okay? Not expecting myself to be sane. Why would I be like composed? Like, why would I feel myself? Why would I be like regular? No. This concept of sanity in this United States, sanity is your ability to manage a semblance of non-reaction to whatever comes at you. That's why people end up on Xanax and all of these antidepressants that essentially, if you take a too high of a dosage, just give you no reaction to nothing. There has to be a very real connection to reality in order to actually have a true human experience. And I find myself having let go of this idea that I am insane for seeing things for what they are, for having strong feelings, and for sometimes being worn out. And so instead, I have tools. And my tools are sleep and nature. And nature involves my animals, because sometimes it's just too cold to go outside. But that's really what it is. I mean, and we've even seen the drugs affect our music. You know, like our driver to the airport the other day was playing 90s R&B. And I think about now R&B, and it's like completely different. There's not even any like dynamics to it. It's always so just the same four notes. It sounds like Xanax. Same with rap. I can't wait for music to get sober again and to start being a reflection again of actual feelings, of the human existence. And I want to see the digitization era not necessarily have to continue. It doesn't have to necessarily be completely depleted, but to be combined with the analog of our reality. And I know that some people are like, Amanda, you're being pickety, persnickety. And I'm really not, because music is a genuine aspect of our, like, in tune with being in tune. You know, like the term in tune, being in tune. You know, we have a heartbeat, and when it's not in rhythm, that's a problem. That should let you know how powerful music is. The earth has a heartbeat. Like, it has a literal heartbeat. So if you don't acknowledge this reality, sorry, I had to acknowledge this reality. Oh my gosh, did you hear my little mumble purring? If we don't acknowledge that reality, then we are just completely disregarding how valuable this piece of thing is. So I listen to music. I go outside. I engage with nature, and I go to sleep. And out of all of those things, the biggest thing is that I have a very free concept of what I consider to be sanity. And that's what keeps me sane. PSA. Hey, come on now. We're gonna close it out. Show your love. Show your love. Show your love. for office as a solution. But when she said we can't vote our way out of this, I came back to being in bliss. I said, show your love, show your love, show your love, show your love. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, I will be recording the audiobook for What Would the Ancestors Say tomorrow. Looking for it to come out in February. For all of my Patreon subscribers, want to remind everybody that on Patreon, you can, if you are a Patreon subscriber, then you can join us for the after show kickback that goes down every Wednesday after the show. Everyone gets up in the chat and hangs out. Along with that, you also get access to my content. You also get to be a part of the Patreon book club. You also get the opportunity to be a part of unique, basically exclusive lives that I do. And I showed you the video earlier of the book tour. All of the full-length videos of the book tour are available on my Patreon. All right. The other thing that I am looking for is I am looking to hire somebody who watches Views from AmandaLand, but who can also edit clips for Views from AmandaLand that can go on the internet. And if you are somebody who thinks that is something that you are capable of doing, you should respond. I'm going to put up a posting at some point, but just know that I'm putting that out there in the world. Okay. I'm putting that out there in the world. People in the chat are talking about all the different things that we actually do in the SEAL Squad, like share pictures of our pets. So hit the like button. And for those of you all who are coming over to the after show, I'm about to be over there shortly. I want to send you all a happy December. It is a crazy time in the world right now. And I am not going to be doing Christmas this year, but I wanted to know, SEAL Squad, would you be interested in having in watching Sinners together on Christmas? Would that be something you're interested in, SEAL Squad, in watching Sinners together on Christmas? Because that's something I'm thinking of doing. And, I've always said I was going to do a watch with y'all, but I never did it about Sinners. And so I feel like that's something. Okay, so y'all are saying yes. Once I get like 3 yeses, I'm gonna do it. So Brandon, basically the way that we would do it is I'm watching and pausing and commenting and pausing and commenting. You can watch along and pause and pause and whatever if you want to, but it really ends up being more like a live that you are attending as I watch Sinners and give you commentary. That's more the context of what it is. All right. So, that's going to happen. All right. I'll do that on Christmas. You guys, thank you for y'all's support of What Would the Ancestors Say. If you're enjoying the book, if you enjoyed the book, please let me know. And share with your peoples and all the good things. Have a great rest of your day. And I will see you all over in the after show kick back. Show your love. Show your love. Let's go to the beach. 30 seconds of stillness.
Amanda.